It's another episode of Around the Mage Table. This is episode 25. I am Frank, joined here by Shawnee. How are you doing today?
I'm marvelous. How are you?
I am doing well. You are back in the Canadian province. Is that right? Province? Yep. Okay.
Correct.
And
back home.
And how's your trip?
It was amazing. We've already started planning our trip in the spring.
Yeah, you sent us a message to say, hey, golf, casino, Mario Kart in IRL.
Listen, it's a 2-floor indoor golf go-kart track. Like, bro, it's pretty intense.
And the
how do you play golf go-kart? Is that like
I would play that.
It's like polo, right? You mount the golf cart.
That actually sounds amazing.
Yeah, no, it's a great trip. I missed seeing Michael Jordan by a meal because he was at his steakhouse with Larry Bird and a couple people, and I'm mad I missed it.
Why? Okay. Why was he there? But that's, I guess, something.
He was there because it was Basketball Hall of Fame weekend in Springfield, Mass, which is like an hour away from the casino.
Cool. Can I have a little divergent story real quick? Very quick. Yeah. I was at my brother's wedding in Toronto just a couple weeks ago. I don't even know if I told you this, Shawnee. I think you were in the chat when I said it, though. And I'm
saw someone in the hallway.
Yeah. I'm standing at the base of the elevators waiting for my wife, who had to run to the bathroom real quick. And out comes Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I'm like looking at him, and I'm kind of like computing.
Wait, from the ladies' bathroom?
No, from the elevators.
Oh.
And I'm looking at him, and he's looking at me like, oh, motherfucker, please, don't make a scene, right?
I was gonna say something.
He's like, because he just got. I'll tell that part in a second. So he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, but I don't like compute it's him right away because he's a lot shorter than I thought he would be, and he's got like a little more gray than I expected. But anyways, as I'm connecting the dots, and mind you, I'm in a full suit. My eyes like widen, and it looks like he's like, oh shit, here it comes. His son is next to him. I assume it's his son because it looked a lot like him. And I just give him like, that GIF meme of the guy like, he's like a lumberjack or whatever, nodding and smiling, right? So I just give him one of those. His son smiles back at me like kind of appreciative that I didn't make a big deal out of it. But out of the same elevator that he came out of was another dude who looks at me like the most like blown away, and he goes, oh my God, and just like freaking out. So anyways, that's just my story about Arnold Schwarzenegger at a hotel.
That's pretty good.
Scrapclaw, how are you doing?
I'm good. I don't have any funny stories. Sorry.
Oh, okay. You're gonna be kicked off the podcast next week.
Pass over me. Go to Technique.
Technique, how you doing?
I'm as sober as Scrap. Apparently, I don't know. I didn't meet any sorts of anybody's this weekend.
Did you complete ? Delve?
I didn't attempt ? Delve, which is fault of circumstances, but also just me forgetting. Until today, when Scrap popped on and was like, "Oh, did you do the thing that you wanted to do?" And I said, "No, I didn't do this."
So
whatever it is you're talking about.
Well, hold on, I think he's just using the excuse of like, "Oh, I haven't tried it."
Well, I haven't. It's not an excuse. I haven't made one attempt.
Do it.
Okay, we're gonna have to like evolve.
I'll do it
right
now on stream. I'll do it right now.
No. We're gonna have to evolve this contest because you clearly haven't met the 17 days. But you could argue it's because you just didn't do it.
It's acceptable that I didn't achieve what I set out to achieve, and that's okay. I didn't win this.
The new question.
First time for everything. So.
The new question will be, how many attempts do you think it'll take? Now, I'll give you some context here. Scrap was riding. What did you call
for Scrap?
What did you call the mount last night, Scrap?
My pussy wagon.
Okay. I don't know what it looks like, even despite the fact that you said that multiple times.
What? You saw it? I brought it to raid.
I didn't look at it because I was so disgusted with what you were calling it.
I got onto it, and everybody in the raid stood up and cheered. You don't remember that?
Everyone stood up and clapped. / that happened.
Exactly. Everybody stood and clapped.
How many attempts did it take for you to get it?
I shit you not. It took me 69. I got on my 69th attempt, which I thought was sweet. But I will say,
thirsty motherfuckers in
I wasn't like trying to get it in like the first half, the first 30 attempts. I could not figure out how to get rid of the poison, so I would literally just like run and die. Like once I figured that out, then I was actually like progging on it. So okay. I think Technique could do it if he goes DPS. I don't think he can do it as a tank. No way.
I couldn't do the single one as a prot warrior.
I'm surprised you did that. I would have thought it would have been easier as a tank.
No, because there's an ad you have to manage. You have to kill.
If you
and you don't
can't
have
kill
to
the ad
DPS.
fast enough, it's not. I might have it now. I don't know. I haven't tried it. But
So technically, how many attempts do you think it'll take? I don't care what spec you tried in, but like you said, it was going to be easy AF. So how quickly can you figure this out? Now that you're well geared
less
as well.
than 30.
Less than 30.
Less than half of the attempts that it took. Scrap.
Do you think you can give us an update next week on that?
I'll give it to you as soon as we're done with this podcast. Let me get started.
No, don't do it now. I go nuclear when you're not paying attention, and then literally right after we finish a point, you reiterate that same point as if it was your idea. So, on the topic of contests, though, we do have our Raider IO contest. Now, I want to point out something real quick. So first and foremost, we did have Max for just a moment quickly watch our stream again, or our podcast on his stream. And I only bring that up because it's sat with me now, this comment someone made. He pulled up the point where we're talking about the state of our IOs, and someone in this chat said, "How do these donkeys have a higher IO than me?"
We don't know either.
Because we have 20 years experience on you.
I was so blown away by this comment. Because
I wasn't blown away. I felt like such like solidarity with them because I said that comment like 100 times since I saw that. Like every time we're arguing about something, I'm like, dude, how does this donkey have higher IO than me?
Well, I can obviously understand that part of it, but what I'm saying is like I'm also kind of starting to worry. Are we becoming the 1%? We made this podcast with the intent to be the 99% representation. And even Max pointed it out on while watching the podcast again, was like, we're not casuals. We're like just different perspective than what the most YouTubers and everything have. And I still agree with that. But it's true. Yeah. Like we even made the point last year when we were in our last season, I should say. And I'll go ahead and pull this up right now because it's kind of part of our topics today. So here's the current standings for cutoff of the title. And I am sitting right at the top 1%. So I'm 2706. It's 2709. Now, granted, I think it's split by alliance. And well, last week you were doing a lot of bragging, Scraps. So don't you start.
I know.
That's just how it's going to be, folks. While you're listening to this podcast, Scrap is just going to waffle based on this contest is stupid versus this is the best contest ever.
I'll pull out any excuse.
But yeah, we are, I mean, we're all inching towards that 1% no matter what the state may be. And I kind of want to answer the question of how are these donkeys higher IO than me? And I feel like a lot of it is, like I think the contest has energized us all. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I would say.
I think
Shani,
go ahead for Shani.
Shani, I got to apologize to you as I'm looking over at the screen right now. I didn't resize this screen for your face, so you're a little bit bigger than the rest of us on real estate of your face.
So,
I just want to acknowledge. I want to acknowledge the sausage being made for a second and just say I'm sorry, Shani, if you watch this back later. But anyways, yeah, like Shani, you haven't had a chance to play a lot, but you were playing quite a bit before you went on vacation. Do you feel like, I mean, we've just kind of stepped up all of our games a little bit because of this contest?
Yeah, for sure. I think, oddly enough, yeah, I'd say so. We've all stepped up. Everyone's doing really well. We're all really close in performance in key, even though my IO will not reflect it because I didn't play for a week. Yeah,
I mean, you can bounce back though.
Yeah, like Scrap goes away, so you and I have some time to get ahead.
I'm going away for a week next.
And I'm happy to run keys with you, Shani. Like I had to.
What the hell?
I was guilted into. So let's talk about that for a second, Scrap, because
I had one key with Frank, and
you were like 100 IO behind. You were falling way behind, right? And I think that start of the night, you had said some really heinous shit. It really tilted me. And then the second we disband as like, because it was like a guild group we were doing the first run in, the second Lithing goes to bed or whatever, you immediately go, hey, Frankie baby, let's start forming some groups and getting some 11s going. I just need to. And you've literally been riding the coattails of everyone.
Let me tell the story. Okay, so
Mm.
here's the thing. Frank wants to get into Key. He gets lined up with offers because he's playing an arcane mage, right? It's not fair. You did one pug with me, Frank. How long did it take us to get into a Key with me hanging on to you?
It took a minute or so.
Minutes. Yeah, and you were 2,700 and you couldn't even get me into an 11.
Yeah, that's exactly what my point was.
No, but I'm just saying it's, for me, I got to play a different game. I got to schmooze. And I'll tell you, that's how this donkey has high IO. You got to schmooze people. I entirely, everybody in this Discord, like all the healers and tanks, I've been saying, hey, you want to run some, hey, help
but
me
you
get
weren't
into
schmoozing me. You were being a complete prick earlier.
That's how I schmooze. That's how I schmooze.
You said that I'm a stay-at-home dad and I should be embarrassed. You said
say that. I'm a lovable asshole. That's how I get into Keys. That's how you get in.
Wasn't it like 2 weeks ago when Scrap did make fun of you for being a stay-at-home dad?
Yeah,
I did,
absolutely.
dude. I am being so gaslit right now. I never said anything about that.
I'm pretty sure Lithian heard it too.
It's like a certain.
No.
I think being a stay-at-home dad is like a certain level of accomplishment. You know.
Yeah, I would love to be a stay-at-home dad.
And
he's not a stay-at-home dad.
I want to say real quick though,
he's a dad.
You guys all seem to like just always find a way to wind me up because even today we were on. I was talking to my mom on the phone, so I was muted in Discord, and I'm with Haywire, who's Technique's brother, and we were with like Bach and some other people from the guild, and the mechanic in Necrotic Wake where the two guys like will throw cleavers or whatever at a player in the group. I've
seen you get hit by both. Oh, you did that again.
I had both of them, right? They're both on me. So I'm moving over to the left side and trying to position Haemon, who is our tank, his brother, between me and the second one so that the one far away hits the mob in front of me and then the one in front of me hits Haemon. But they are running their fucking mouth saying he's doing it wrong. And again, Technique, you were equally as guilty. And then not a second later, you are running away from being cleaved yourself and you die.
Well,
and then somehow you made a comment that it was my fault.
I didn't say it was your fault.
Hold on. And Frank, in their defense, you do have a history of getting hit by both those axes. So.
I think everyone has a history of getting hit both by those axes.
Dude, I've never been hit by both those axes. What? I turtle, man.
True or false?
What?
That Scrap's never been hit by.
Scrap's
maybe I've been hit by one. Yeah, I get hit by one. Maybe never have I been caught in between.
Anyways, I say that all just because that's the same energy. That's the same energy you were bringing right before you got piggybacked into a key, right?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I think we timed by 0.1 second.
No, it was like by 5 seconds.
No, it was the Grim Batol that I'm pretty sure. Like
I've already had a way closer key this week that I've timed. Can we get this on the rails?
She's been piggybacking off of healers only to find out that she is currently sitting as a survival hunter in the top 100 of the US, top 300 of the world.
And I'd like to thank all my healer and tank friends who have carried me in this direction.
The 1%er over here.
Well, hang
Show
on.
my purses also.
Top 100 out of how many survival hunters?
Like a couple thousand.
Yeah, we can find out real quick. Out of the US here. Let's see what the US says.
Yeah.
That actually do mythic keys.
Yeah, no, I mean it'll show us.
Yeah, look. It's over 10,000, I think.
11. Okay, 12,000. 12,000.
It's 12K.
Yeah.
Top 100 out of 12K.
Well, hold on, but there's a lot of people. Okay, we can go through and sort all these people who attempted one key but failed it.
Can we stop sucking my dick and get on with the podcast?
So I say all this because we still have a lot of room to go. Shani, you're playing Diablo. Technique, you have been on and off again with your pushing, but you are, I think, back on. Is that right?
I mean, yeah, I'm pushing. I wasn't off. I have a lot of distractions IRL right now.
Mm-hmm. How is it as a tank? Is it different for you than it is for us?
Oh my god, I don't even want to talk about how it is for him.
It's wonderful being an S tier tank for the first time.
He just gets into a key just by breathing on it.
Doing mythics,
I've been doing like keys, but just with you guys, and you guys play reindeer games and tomfoolery, and
that's not how you time keys, dude.
I know.
You gotta go with other people.
Okay, so on the topic of keys, let's go back and visit last week's episode's poll, which we put up on Twitter. Here's where we ranked.
See the aggregate.
Here's where we ranked the dungeons: Dawnbreaker and Ara as S, Grim, Siege, and Stone as A, Necrotic as B, and then Miss and City as D. Right? And this is how the world has ranked there. So
poor Necrotic Wake.
Dawn is at the top, as we all agreed, and again, it's just the vibe, I think, is what really lets it win there. There's still some
there
bugs.
was a lot of dissent in the Discord over this, though. I remember actually, I remember what Kitty was saying. He was saying, should bugs exclude a dungeon from being good?
Oh,
Yes.
that was a question.
I said that.
That was a question.
We'll
Mainly.
revisit that topic in a second. We'll revisit that.
We'll revisit
Miss
it.
is an S tier. This
So,
poll
yeah.
sucks.
No. So I'm looking at this poll, and I'm seeing a correlation between S tier keys and keys that are easy to time. So I think that might be what our community is judging them by.
That is actually a good point, Scrap, because these are the two we'll see here in a second. These are the two
and
that
Echoes is right below.
But yes, these are the two right now that I think the only two that have a 16 time for them. But like for the most part, it was a landslide between the two. They both got a huge amount of votes. Arakara had a lot of S votes, but mostly A's. So it's kind of at the top of the A, but Siege is up there. I'm so happy to see Siege up there. I cannot I'm getting vindicated here. That makes me feel good.
Because the timer's free.
It is free. It is free. I can't tell you, like in the 11s I've been doing where we have like a big wipe and everyone's just like, oh, GG. I'm like, no, dude, we got like 12 minutes.
Dude,
Keep
we
going.
had 18 deaths in the 11 I timed with Pleb. Or maybe we didn't. I can't remember. We were close, but we literally had 2 full wipes and we're still on the timer. Like, what the fuck? It's so free.
Siege isn't as forgiving as the spider dungeons for sure, but
as Echoes, Threats is pretty hard.
The spider dungeon is pretty polarizing. It landed in A, but there's quite a lot of votes in the other directions. Grim Batol, I think everyone just unanimously agreed was a B tier. They just said like it's good, but it's not great. I do think it's a great example of a reworked dungeon, though. I think it's hard.
It's a great dungeon.
It's hard, but it's a great dungeon, and the bosses I think are all great. Stone Vault again. People are just like, yeah, it's a good vibe. I think it's great, but it's a good vibe. And then of course Necrotic Wake. So is this only because of Stitch Fix or whatever his name is?
This is most of these votes went out pre-nerf, and I'm gonna confess I haven't seen Stitch Flesh post nerf, so I don't know.
Stitch Fix, that's a company.
Stitch Fix, Stitch Flesh post nerf. But yeah, no, I mean, if you follow the correlation of keys that are easy to time, keys that are harder to time, it makes sense that Necrotic Wake's on the bottom because the timer is tight.
Okay, so if we were to run this back, do you think it would climb any higher? I don't
know because I haven't done it. I feel like the timer's still tight. There's way too much count you have to get in the dungeon. Even if you do Stitch Flesh in one phase, the timer's still tight. The trash is brutal. 10 plus.
You got to do that. You got to do that first room really quickly to make up your time.
Yeah. And honestly,
there's ways to do it, but a lot of tanks just don't challenge it, I guess.
Maybe. I feel like the timer needs like 2 more minutes, or the count needs to go back down to what it was in Shadowlands. I don't know why they inflated the count so much.
And I've said this, I don't know if I've said it on the podcast, but I've said it before. I think this is a perfect example, though, of where the Mythic Dungeon tools and the routing that you can do on them as a tank will make the world of a difference. Because if the entire group knows how you're pulling that first room, I think it's not only more successful, of course, because they line up with, okay, this is what I'm going to be looking for. But they also won't butt pull. They won't make silly mistakes.
Hold on, Frank.
Yeah.
Finish your thought.
Okay. My point was going to be that going into that first boss, I don't know why, but there's always a different layout of the room based on how the tanks have pulled it. That people are pointing shit, the retro, whatever it's called, pointing it in some direction that causes some sort of chaos because there's no uniformity to how the runs are pulled. And that will quickly brick a key or make Necrotic Wake hell. In fact, Technique was it you and I and I think Musham and we tried to do a 11 miss or a Necrotic Wake, excuse me, and it just went sideways immediately.
That key was kind of whack because
reindeer games.
I'm not sure what exactly it was. Probably on the pull, but for whatever reason, man, I would pull something with a heroic throw or whatever. And by the time it got to me, everything was jumping around on other people. They weren't attacking the boss or something. Now, I know you said, whatever was, you were on the boss. I don't know. It was a weird
Oh,
one.
yeah, the reason that way, I mean, I got to take responsibility for being belched on, but I had aggro on everything jumping, and so I was like looking at survivability instead of the mechanics and got belched on.
I was in that key.
Yeah.
That was last week though, before the nerf.
That was like,
Yeah, that was a whack key. I'm gonna take responsibility too, because for whatever reason, man, I just couldn't like pick up the threat the way I wanted to. Normally I would. Anyway, it's a long conversation that I'm not gonna get into.
Wait, I still want to come in here.
yeah, all right, Scott, what's your thought?
I have a bone to pick with routing of Necrotic Wake. Okay,
Okay.
it's one of the 11s I still need. So yesterday after raid, I was like, yeah, just try do a couple 11s, whatever. I had the key, pleb had the key, whatever. There is some YouTuber or somebody, and I heard it might be Tettles, who came out with some fucking crazy route for Necrotic Wake, and every stupid ass pug tank is trying to do it, and they suck. Like literally, I've done Necrotic Wake the worst possible ways anybody could possibly do Necrotic Wake, because these people are like thinking they're in the MDI doing an 11 pug. Like, please, for the love of God, can we just do a normal route in Necrotic Wake? I did one that broke up literally after the first pull. The guy pulled all of the shit you normally pull with Lust, also the Gatekeeper. Yeah, that went horribly, obviously. And then I did 2 more where the tank was trying to do some skip route, where it's skipping like multiple things, like skipping the caster pack right after the 2 marauders in between the first and second boss. Yeah, twice.
We used to do that all the time, but
we used to do that all the time. Some YouTuber, maybe Tettles. I don't want to throw him under the bus, but that's what
I don't think
heard.
Tettles usually makes routes though.
Okay, maybe it wasn't Tettles. That's just what I heard hearsay. One of our friends said, like, what? I was literally going up.
Our
I was
Discord
like,
tends to just throw shit at Tettles' way for no reason.
I don't know who. I just heard the word Tettles, but I was literally raging. I was like, because 3 Necrotic Wakes in a row, these tanks were throwing crazy routes out, and I was like, literally, I was screaming. I was like, literally,
pleb tanking for you?
No, he was watching me pug ones afterwards, and I was raging. I said, what fucking YouTuber, TikToker put out some crazy ass route that all these crazy people are trying, and it didn't work one time. So it's not good, and maybe at the higher keys with higher level people to keep it out of my fucking 10 and 11 pugs, please.
I still love the dungeon, man.
Forward.
It's the mob density and the fact that like there's only a couple of mobs that you really need to have a focus on in each pull. I love that shit. Give me 15 bags and 15 soldiers and I'm like 2 casters.
I think I agree with you.
Clean, you're fine. You're gonna time it, but like.
Well, I agree with you entirely, Technique, up until the point where you go up into the ziggurat or whatever, necropolis. And like the pulls to start with. Well, the pulls to start with are good, but then when it starts coming like this timed, everything's waiting for a spawn, waiting. Like the pace just completely.
I'm not gonna complain about that part though, man. It's part of the dungeon. You got a boss that's like summoning creatures he's created. It's part of the theme of the dungeon, man.
Faster,
I like that.
Though, like can you like just maybe a little bit faster?
Yeah, you can do the same summoning thing where they all summon at once and you just like pull them like you were pulling just a second ago. Yeah, because like some of the pulls there aren't that hard. Plus. Okay, so we'll talk about this in a second, but like the change this week to Necrotic Wake was that you can't stack all 3 of the javelins on the boss. So there's now more reason to be using javelins elsewhere. But because this change has come in and half the people don't even know it exists, let alone tanks aren't using the tool to say, here's what I want from our route. Here's where I want our javelins. Hey, not half the time, but like Scrap, we've left javelins behind because no one's talking about it. Because we're just assuming someone's going to get that and get this and get that. And so, like, again, this dungeon should be great. Technique's right. Like, the pulls are on paper great, but just all that stuff is just compounding into a bad experience for everyone.
I think it's definitely different as a tank than it is as a DPS. Like, going in as a DPS and finding some tank that's doing some whack shit, that's got to be sad.
Dude, it sucks.
Like, me as a tank, I control that shit. So I'm like, let's get all this fucking
Technique,
garbage,
and 30 minutes to get this key together that I was in, and the tank literally pulled everything, and the gatekeeper died and disconnected. Like, it was over, and I can't remember who was in Discord. I think it was Enki. We were all joking. I was like, "How long do you guys think until this key breaks up?" Because I was joking about how long it took to put together, and Enki said 8 minutes. I said, "Enki, that's optimistic," and it lasted less than 1 minute. So,
you want to know the fastest way to kill yourself in a dungeon?
What?
Use one of the augment runes. I swear to God. I swear to God. The second I go, if we say it's a cat fight and I go, okay, I want to win this cat fight, and I use an augment rune, I'm dying no matter what in
You
the next
don't
10
second
seconds.
use an augment rune. That's actually a really good tip, Frank. Thank you.
Yeah, that's my tip of the week, everyone.
Tip of the week.
Okay, well, we'll put this to bed. We are going to come back to Mythic Plus next week, and I even think I love tier list making, right? Of course, I think we should do one of all the bosses. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, and at one point,
All the bosses.
Of the, it's like 24 of them total. We can get through that quickly.
Raid bosses or Mythic boss?
Mythic Dungeon. We're going to do the raid bosses today.
Oh.
Mythic Dungeon bosses I'm down with, but I do want to keep in mind, in Dragonflight we did a pug tier list, and I have been collecting data.
Oh yes. We need to keep that on paper though. We need to actually.
Girl, I have been collecting data about the worst people to pug with. Let me tell you, Protection Warrior is so high up there.
After the podcast today, let's make sure we put all this down because we need to keep we need to keep a page though so that we can move them and drop them on the ranking as we go. Okay.
Yeah, if your Prot Warrior doesn't have Battle Scarred Veteran or AoE Taunt Silence, kick 'em.
I'll check their talents next time.
Kick them.
I want to thank everyone who participated in the poll. We got decent participation. I'm hoping we get some more in our next one. All right, let's go on to actual news. Starting with, I only pulled this because I think it would make a huge difference to Scrap. So for those who don't know, Orlando Salvatore announced that he's leaving Blizzard. Now, why is this a big deal? Well, this is apparently the dude who made Plunderstorm.
I'm sorry, why is he leaving Blizzard?
What I heard on, I think it was the bench, he was hired by Riot.
Oh,
sick.
Shit.
So what, Riot's League of Legends company?
Dude,
they're in Atlanta.
They're coming out with League of Plunderstorm.
But apparently he was key in the development behind Plunderstorm, Mist of Pandaria Remix, Follower Dungeons, and the new gear update system. All right.
Those are all really good things.
And apparently he's also like a cutting edge raider, which I always love seeing. Like, okay, another sidebar here. Ferris, who's one of the community leaders, she's the one that runs the variety show for WoW on Twitch.
Oh yeah.
She's got like a 2800 IO, I think. And I was just like, I saw her on Twitter and I just go, "Mother, how's this donkey beating me?" And I'm like,
"How is this donkey?" Why do you think she's a donkey? She's good at the game.
No, it's part of it's like, that's amazing, right? That they're so good at the game too. But like, I guess I'm just so used to like feeling they're disconnected from the game. We see the patch notes, we see it, we're like, what? But maybe that's why things are going so well, because we're going to talk about tuning here in a second. But anyways, I just wanted to get Scrap, and if obviously the other two have any updates to that or feelings about it. But Scrap, your thoughts?
I hope they paid him a ton of money because he deserves it. Plunderstorm is great.
Yeah, he absolutely killed it. And I hope he was leading a team, so I hope that either one, they put some things in the oven to cook and get out to us soon. Plunderstorm coming back sometime soon will also be awesome.
If they come out with a roadmap of next year and there's any skull and crossbones on it, I'm gonna lose my mind. You remember you kept pulling up that roadmap, and every time I would see it, I was like, "Is that Plunderstorm?" That happened already. Shit.
Yeah, actually, speaking of which, we haven't gotten a roadmap for 2025 yet.
Because they're still cooking it.
Well, so 11.0.7 has gone on the encrypted servers, so we will probably hear about it almost immediately after this coming week's patch, because this coming week is the 20th anniversary patch. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe even by the time we record next week's episode, we might have some news on that. But other news
here, man.
Huh?
Oh, let's hear his take.
Orlando Salvatore. I kind of feel like, man, there's three gaming companies that I really give a fuck about. That's Blizzard, Riot, and Valve.
Riot.
And yeah, they make great games.
Have you ever played any of them?
Yeah, I played League of Legends. I don't like it more than I like Dota, but I like it. It's a good game, and it's a good company, and I think that they'll do well. But I feel like, dude, you just left Blizzard for Riot, probably for money.
Yeah.
And you might not be able to I hope that he's able to contribute what he's able to do at Blizzard for Riot. It's probably going to be more difficult for him to actually invest his soul and passion.
I don't think you have any grounds to say that, but
sure
I was literally thinking the same thing. But
imagine you. No, hold on, I do have some grounds. Hang on. You're a 2800 IO player in Mythic Dungeons in WoW. This guy
isn't. No,
he's cutting edge.
Cutting edge raider. Okay. Cutting edge raider. He plays a fuck ton of WoW.
Okay.
you think he gives that much shits about anything Riot's doing
Hold
in
on,
their
hold
game?
on. Time out. First off,
What's he doing in
you're
League of
saying
Legends?
this.
Hang on.
He was
Second
just
off, what if
League
he's like,
Legends.
an amazing league?
I'm basing it off the. I'm not making
he's triple
assumptions.
platinum.
I'm working with the facts that I have.
You have no facts.
I
Why are
just
you
gave
working
you the
with them?
facts. He's a CE raider.
Okay,
You don't know
but
what he is
that's-
in League of Legends.
Well, do you?
No, you don't have the facts. I'm not making assumptions.
All I'm saying is he's obviously an
I'm Googling
invested.
it. I'm
He's an
Googling
invested
it.
WoW player. He's a heavily invested WoW player.
Get a
I'd find it
flashbang.
really. I'd be really
Look,
impressed. if he's
okay,
also
I'm going to
heavily
try to clean
invested,
this up.
like,
I'm going to try to clean this
Riot
up.
player.
Are
Good
you
luck.
trying to say though that like, because what I heard your statement first was like he may not be able to have such a big stamp on what he does in League
Imagine
or whatever.
how
Riot's
much
doing.
how much passion would you have going into like a Riot game right now out of the top of your, like just
Well, first
like,
off, I'll put it to you this way.
I'm over there.
I'm going to put it to you this way. Let's say it's a Dota game because I know League and Dota are effectively the same game. So I
In
love
that
Dota.
case, I'd
I love
switch
Dota.
over and be like,
Hold on.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
getting
I
some
love Dota.
information here.
Hold on, I love
Oh, never
Dota,
mind.
right? Riot's apparently making a League MMO of some sort.
yes.
So,
which I hope it's the
I would
project he's
assume
working
they're
on.
bringing him over for that. And
Oh, wait,
Imagine-
assumptions, everyone. Wait.
no,
Where's the
but
facts?
I like his
Where are your
assumptions.
because my assumption is that this guy is an MMO creator. He is being brought on to create MMOs. But even if he isn't, he has a clear and I mean a immediate history of all these innovative things he's done for a game that was 20 years old. They're probably bringing him over for that part of it. I'd also say probably brought him over for a better title and better pay, which
So
in
my
the
original
gaming
statement
industry,
was,
especially
I hope
today.
that he's able to contribute for Riot with the
He-
level of passion and love that he has for Blizzard. That's all I was trying to say.
I get that,
I hope
but
that he's
what
able
I'm
to
saying
do
is like, why do we assume that he's not right? Like, why
Because,
is that
man,
in contention?
Everyone,
Blizzard a better
everyone
vibe?
listening to this podcast, I think would agree. Like, dude, if you listen to this podcast, like you're a Blizzard fanboy,
Chill.
you're a fucking Blizzard champ, you know. And for someone to like leave that family and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna
No,
work
obviously
for,
we're
like Riot,"
I'm
happy
like
for him, but
worried
I feel
about
like,
it.
All right,
'Cause I-
coming at it with facts. Hold on. Blizzard doesn't historically like treat their
Yes.
employees very well.
Yeah, that was my point. Second
maybe
was like,
employees like you, but employees like
Like,
us.
Okay, true.
okay.
Just kidding, audience.
That's
Just
very
kidding, audience.
sadly true. He's not
Well,
even kidding.
what I
It's
take
very
away,
sadly
what I
true.
take away from this though, Jesus, is that like this is a big problem, not a problem, but a big concern of mine because like this is what was kind of making the WoW ecosystem, because I know a lot of it was like classic / side games, but like this was so exciting over the past year of all the things he did. Just to speak on follower dungeons, which I don't think was credited to him initially, right? Because I know he did like interviews for Plunderstorm and all that stuff.
I think only like 6 people have done a follower dungeon, right?
No, I do
No.
follow dungeon every week when we have that weekly that has a dungeon that we're not allowed to go to in Mythic or Mythic Plus.
We
So I
don't
just-
do follower dungeons, but a lot of people do them.
Yeah. Anyways, the technology is amazing in and of itself, right?
It's innovative, too. I mean,
six
there's-
people have done them.
No.
But anyways,
I mean, it's something that, like, for example, Final Fantasy has been doing forever, and that's just not been present in World of Warcraft for like because it's
well, and
probably
it works
difficult to do,
really
so-
well
And
considering.
it works well.
Yeah.
I like it.
But I say all this just because,
yeah.
like, I mean, again, I'm sure he had some things in the pipeline, but is it? We're also assuming that a lot of this was all on his shoulders, and there wasn't a really good team behind him. I'm hoping that's the case. And I wish, I hope the best for him because, like, he is obviously a killer employee to have on your team, which is why they probably poached him. But also, it could be indicative of the fact that he wasn't happy with what Blizzard was or wasn't letting him do, and he left because Riot kind of said, "Hey, you can have your own team and you can do whatever the hell you want." But I don't know.
Well, when they come
A
out
lot
with
of
League of
assumptions
Legends
there.
Fortnite, I guess I'll play it because I love Plunderstorm.
I'm excited about
Wait,
it.
League
man.
of Legends Fortnite. Fortnite's not.
Well, Plunderstorm is Fortnite.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Battle Royale, whatever.
Okay, Battle Royale. All right,
Yeah, Battle
let's
Royale.
move on. So I only brought this up because this is something that is cherished
Look,
in
look
my.
at his Twitch, his tweet, his twat. Look, it says he's been to every single BlizzCon. He's a Blizzard fanboy, dude. He's not
Yeah.
really happy about leaving Blizzard, but he's probably getting paid. And that's
Okay,
fine,
well,
dude. I hope he's able to contribute. We can move on now. Sorry.
I hope that you
Out of
continue
time.
to update
Next
us.
subject, out of time.
So I only bring this up. I don't know if, and so a 20-year veteran of WoW, Technique. I know you're 20 years as well, right? You've played since day one.
I'm 39, buddy.
No,
God.
I don't know. When
you
did
were
this shit
playing in
come out?
Azeroth before it was even created.
I was there in the first week.
Yeah,
whenever that was.
But there's a point that stands out to me way back when. This is again, I spoke of the FOMO I had when the expansion launched, and I saw all these people tweeting like the Mountain Dew packs and all this stuff that they were getting, but they're bringing back for the 20th anniversary one of my favorite things in the whole world, which was the Mountain Dew Gamer Fuel, right? Or Game Fuel, I guess that's what it's called.
The blue Mountain Dew, the Alliance Mountain Dew, that was the best thing ever.
So this is the red Mountain Dew. This was the Horde one.
They don't have the blue one?
shared one of the commercials of the Mountain Dew commercials, like the ladies that are like in line at the grocery store buying, and then one lady like looks over her shoulder and sees like an Alliance purchaser, and she's a Horde. And all of a sudden she busts out into being an orc, and the other one's the original Night Elf from the classic trailer.
Yeah.
It was a sick commercial.
Wait, they don't have the blue one? Oh, what? You can get a motorcycle? What is? Frank, can you lay out this story? I don't know.
Yeah, sorry. Actually, since I last looked at this, they've updated it. Look, I'll put it this way. I have a can of Game Fuel in my fridge right now. When they last did the promotion, I want to say like 4 years ago, which was in and of itself, I think like just a random one-off. But it was like, I think Halo based. But anyways, whatever the case may be, the purple one I think is a new flavor for not Shadowlands, War Within. But this citrus cherry I think is the original Game Fuel. Anyways,
good.
I have a can in my fridge that my brother-in-law tried to drink and I almost killed him because like, no, I'm saving that for a special day. I'm saving that for when we do the 24-hour stream kind of thing.
Okay.
But they're also seeming to be adding, they have the trolley gummies thing right now where if you buy trolley gummies, you get like an in-game pet.
Hold on, Frank, are we sponsored by Mountain Dew? Why are we doing so much?
Apparently.
Pepsi, please reach out. I'd love to be sponsored by Game Fuel.
Game Fuel.
But yeah, apparently they're going to give away some items. Now these are speculations.
Wait, how do you get that?
These are speculations. Okay.
It's the hate forged pussy wagon.
Yeah, I want that. I want both of those. Those are cool.
These were, I think, data mined back when the expansion came out and no one knew what they were for, but this is what it looks like they were for. It makes sense because one's purple, one's red. But yeah, there's no official confirmation that this is going to happen, but I mean, you don't load up a warehouse with this many cans and assume that it's not going to happen.
Dude, I want the mount. Is it going to be like a golden ticket? Like there's going to be not a lot, or did you just get it if you
I think you just get it if you buy the box.
Oh, the whole box. Ew.
This is an assumption. Again, I'm not a fan of assumptions. We should probably just hold off on that.
Okay.
I'm going to change the word assumption. If I say it, just say, no, you meant educated guess. Okay.
Wait, hold on. What was it I was saying about suppositions earlier this week?
I can't remember.
I don't remember. It's been a year since this week started.
I'm just happy we got more mileage out of this story than I was even thinking would be possible. I just wanted to say I love Game Fuel and I'm so excited and blah blah blah.
And please sponsor me. It's an interesting story. I don't really like Mountain Dew because it's too sweet, but I definitely want one of these cans.
Well, maybe I'll zoom in on that red box and see how much sugar's in there.
A lot.
Yeah, it's
46 grams. It's 92% of your daily allowance.
I hope you don't have to buy the whole case.
Yeah, that's one can, fam. You better back off on that love for
the second I saw this. So for those that don't know, I didn't do it last year because I lost my job, but every year I like to do the 24-hour Extra Life Marathon from Miracle Network and all that stuff. But the second I saw this, and I was like, oh my God, it's going to come out right at the time when I'm going to do the 24-hour stream. I'm going to get a case. I'm going to drink it all night. Yeah, speaking of
every milestone, you drink one Mountain Dew.
Maximum is such a fan of ours. Why doesn't he also put on a stream for the needy or whoever the fuck that streams for?
I'm sure he does.
Why don't you tweet him and ask? I don't.
Yeah, tweet him.
Tweet him. He's listening right now.
Okay,
Frank doesn't know Max.
I would be thrilled if we are in the middle of a reaction video on his stream and he gets to this point and he just pauses and goes, "This motherfucker."
Oh yeah, bro! 24 hours. Do it or don't.
again,
you.
we got way more out of that than I thought. So
You said this is
speaking
gonna
of,
be a short one.
I know.
Dude.
Speaking of getting a lot more mileage out of what I thought, look,
Yeah.
they made a 12-month subscription offer. Now it looks like they've given some of the stuff that was already given away.
Free
like, I think
mount or not?
I brought this up only for the memes, but they're giving away quite a lot of stuff if you do the 12-year subscription, right? Technique.
It's a cool looking
kinda-
cat, bro. I mean, if I had to get a cat, that's a good looking cat. But
It's a cool cat.
wait, what's
Unique
the
model.
shadowy figure down there?
Yeah,
Let's
this
talk
is-
about that.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
It looks
Can't wait
like
to ride
what's
it.
that one Pokemon that's in the water? Has a long tail.
Gyarados.
Gyarados, that's the one.
I don't know. Gyarados doesn't have a particularly long tail, but I knew what he's talking about.
Yeah, but it's a good description. Clearly, we win the Pictionary game.
Now, based on the way that people voted in our polls, this stuff is technically free. And I wanted to
Right.
ask Scrap and Technique, do you feel really fucking stupid that they're giving away this free cat?
What the fuck?
No, I just wanted to get y'all some
No,
I'm
feedback.
paying for this
I'd feel
cat.
really fucking stupid if I paid for that shit, though.
You would
We are
feel stupid?
paying
I
for
mean,
it,
this is a
Technique.
good
Feel
looking mount.
so stupid. It's a
Hold
good
on,
looking
Technique.
cat, but I'm not gonna
Stay
pay for
on
that
the
shit.
same Technique. Stay on the same page. Our part of
Yeah.
the stance was that we are paying for it. So
That's
you're
what I'm
calling
saying.
yourself an
I'm not
idiot.
gonna. That's what I'm saying. I'd feel really fucking stupid if I paid for that shit.
He's flip flopping on his own
I'm not
argument.
flip flopping, family. I'm not gonna spend money
Family?
because it's not free. It's not free. I'm not paying for it.
Oh, Christ.
You're gonna get the 12-month subscription,
make
though, aren't
me.
you?
No, I'm gonna pay every month like a boss.
Pay extra.
Just in case my
Why?
house gets hit by a tree and I can't play anymore.
What the fuck? There's no reason any of us four should be paying, more per month because we're not gonna stop playing WoW. So
Don't flip. You're the flip flop over
Actually,
here.
Not
if there's
flip-flopping.
one person that would, I think, take a break, it's Technique. Which
As
I
soon as
say
we
this,
get AOTC, dude, I'm gone. I'm
because he's a
done.
casual.
I'm not potting. I'm not
Uh,
playing.
you're not potting either?
He's not. He's not potting anyway.
It depends. If
I don't
Maximum
believe
comes
him.
online and says Flashbang CEO Technique, I need you to pot, then I'll be here.
Yeah, Lithium will be back in your place and he'll be like, this
Yeah,
is a
Lithium will
trash
be back.
podcast now.
Yep.
Hashtag stray
Well,
on
Frank, can I
Lithium.
say?
How
I
many-
think the cat. Oh, and I think the cat looks really nice, and I'm glad they've
It's got a
gone
really big
back.
fucking face, that's for sure.
It's a big cat. I'm glad they've gone back to giving us unique
Yeah.
models.
Yeah, except for
It's
the
not unique. It's in
bullshit.
the same outfit that we got last time.
It's
the same
absolutely not.
costume, but on a cat.
No, it's not.
It is
It's different.
It's the astral fucking
All right,
celestial.
we got
outfit.
more things to talk about, so we're just gonna jump
Or,
in.
okay, next thing.
We got hot fixes for this week, so I'm just gonna quickly point some stuff
fixes.
out. I'm gonna jump into this Delve one right here in a second because it's been very controversial. But Heroic Queen Ansarek, which we are currently progging on, we hit a best 42%, I think, this week. But they nerfed it. Now you guys have seen the nerf already yesterday. I'll be honest, like while the nerf did help, this one right here is especially like when people are dead, it doesn't calculate an
Yeah.
application. So that was like great, but technically not really a nerf, only just like fixing a mistake I think they made. But this right here doesn't really seem to be helping that much. People are still getting like just blasted by things that they shouldn't be. And I feel
I
like
think
this
poor
is
raid
more-
leading on that part, honestly, is what's causing the issue with the frothy toxin damage and the gloom blasting.
Why do you think that?
Mainly to troll Frank.
I'm the raid leader.
Yeah, I was gonna say. That's so funny.
Yeah, there's a
Um,
few things we could do differently, but I don't lead the raids.
Well, we, like I said, it was kind of like nice, but at the same time, we also have the new where it goes, severed strands buff coming in.
Right.
So for those who haven't already seen this new quest that populated, I think last week, you can collect, God, I don't even remember what they're called, but you can collect little shards from each one of the bosses. 16 of them allows you to turn it in to get it's a 2.25. I think that was nerfed from 3% in the PTR buff. Now, I think
Wait.
all said we're not going to add that. I haven't added it. Scrap, you haven't added it, correct?
No, I don't intend to add it.
Yeah,
I mean,
Specifying, we're not doing it.
no, I'm not. If you want to add it, that's fine. But I'm against it on principle, so I will not be adding it. We
Yeah,
had
I
a
feel
long
you.
discussion about
Can
this already.
Can I point out
so-
something also while we're here?
Go on
Quick
in.
throwback. Let's read this blue post. Hello! The Severed Strands buff tool. Why start with that? What?
Why not?
Where are you? Where are you from?
It's a greeting.
What?
No, you're
what?
greeting a community of players.
What are you getting
don't
hung
start
up
with-
on, dude?
I don't know. I don't even know what
Hello?
his theory is.
Anyway, next. Sorry.
Okay.
That's really.
Well-
That's really.
So,
Really odd.
somebody
It's-
in the comments
I don't know.
explain that, please. Explain the
Is this a
take.
Other
tweet?
tuning
Is this
with
like
this
a
week-
random greeting? Is this an email to your friend? I don't get it.
Other tuning with this
Blue
week.
post.
This one was huge for the community. They switched the placement of where you get gilded crests from +9s to +8s. This is move the wall down a little bit so that people aren't getting scrunched up at that +8 to +9 transition. And now they're just getting scrunched up at the 7 to 8 transition. But they did buff all the affixes to a 30-second timer as opposed to 20 seconds, which I did feel like made an impact because half the time I feel like we're dealing with the affixes when the mobs are dead and we're running to a new spot. So that's kind of nice. They also, and this is huge, I think, but we haven't experienced it yet. Zalatath's Guile, which is the level 12 affix, has been nerfed from a 20% increase on health and damage to a 10% increase on health and damage. And I've been trying to get into 12s now. In fact, last night on stream.
I did one last week. Not
Oh.
successfully.
Last week you did one, okay.
Yeah, it was still bad.
I was on stream trying to get into 12s, and like some of my
Before
chat
the
was
nerf.
just like, how the hell with that IO are you not getting taken in? And I'd like to remind Scrap, like even as an arcane mage with 2700 IO, you're not getting
Hey,
taken.
hold on. When I
Because
plugged
Prot
my
Warriors
12
don't
out,
want you.
I looked to see if they'd timed to 12 before. You just got to get one in the door.
Well, and I think that the 12s and 13s are probably like you can't see who's also applying with you. I kind of wish you could. I don't know if that would create a toxic environment, but like it'd be one thing if I saw like a million names on the list and they were just being picky. I'd get it. Like I'm sometimes picky. I'd like to not see that happen at the +7, +8 level, but whatever.
Definitely. I mean, just from my experience, like I did have my grubby hands on a 13 for a very short period of time last week. And I was just like, fuck it. Let's send it like in the middle of the night. And Pleb and I just like tried to fill out a group. And the people applying to 13s, there's like nobody like who's even applying to that. We whiffed that immediately. That shit was hard. Actually, we did pretty good. We did the first couple polls and then I can't remember, died early on in the key. And the 12, we stayed with the healer and everything and tried it. And we got a good way into the key. But like the people applying to the 12 were like 2,800 plus, like late 27, 28. So I think you're going to struggle. I think we're going to have to get our own 12s to get your foot in the door.
Shawnee, I'm going to have a little aside here, and I don't want Scrap answering this question, okay?
Oh my god.
Okay, I'm ready to answer.
So we are obviously in the midst of our contest. We have a lot going on right now. And last night you had come back. You would wait for us. You weren't raiding with us because you're playing Diablo 4, new expansion. I get it. But you did want to get a key with the E team.
Yeah.
And we entered into I think it was my key, a Cities 11.
Yep.
Shawnee, do you think E team's going to be able to be there for us as we continue to push into this contest? And Scrap, you can't answer because you definitely won't be there for us.
I have opinions.
I think
I say
there's a
this knowing
couple
full and well Lithium doesn't listen to the podcast, only Haywire does, so be careful what you say.
no. I think there's a couple fundamental things we got to do, and I don't know how willing or able everyone in E team would be to do them.
All right, Scrap, what's your opinion?
I think it's early for E-Team because we can only get together as our team like twice a week for keys. And so like, for example, in threads, we can't agree how to do the first boss. And if we can't agree on it, it's going to go bad. Like we need to run every dungeon multiple times to like form a proper team. So the season, it's early. We don't have a lot of, we got to work together.
But it's not really that early. And I say all this because...
No, wait, but listen to what I said. I said we only get like 2 keys a week. So how many keys have we done as E-Team yet? Like less than 10, I think, total.
We're going to be in our best friend columns. I don't know what you're talking about, but I say best friend columns. That's the Radar IO recap.
Frank, as the whole team, like I've done a ton of keys with Lithian, like just Lithian and
my
maybe Musham,
point is really just not like, because I don't want to I'm not trying to dog on Lithian or Musham or any of us for that matter, because again, we all have our own. But like what I was trying to get at though is like we're getting to this point now where pugging into 12s, as I said, I had the IO, I had every reason to be accepted into a 12, but I'm not. And I'm wondering if we as a, this is like the pug versus group community, are we going to hit this wall where not only are we going to have a significantly tougher time timing keys, which is to be expected, but it's like exponential. But also, like, I think we're going to be in this place where we're going to see a lot of familiar faces. I mean, we saw that the top 1% is like 6,000 players worldwide. And there's going to be that handful of like, 1,000 of them. We're going to start recognizing some names more and more frequently.
Dude.
Shawnee, what do you think? What do you think?
Okay.
I'm going to ask for both me and Scrap. What do you think Scrap is going to be known for among those 6,000 people? And what do you think I'm going to be known for among those 6,000 people?
Scrap will be known for not kicking, and you will be known for backseating the tank.
But I can't backseat in Pugs.
Or blocking.
Or you'll still like you'll be
Just
whispering the tank. Like, you should do this. I have threat. You'll have some kind of weak aura made that just like as soon as you get threat, it'll whisper them. I have threat.
I haven't used invisibility and I have threat.
Scrap,
What are you doing wrong?
Weak aura, and it will just say, "I'll get the next kick," and she won't.
What can I point out to you, Shawnee, that I was trying to sabotage Scrap yesterday while she was queuing up for 11s. I tried to whisper the leader of her group saying that she was trash and that she shouldn't be taken, but that didn't work. So I queued up for their group and put in my note, drop this hunter. She dies on every pull, and she may have good DPS, but she can't survive any of the other bosses.
This is the kind of shenanigans this poor survival hunter is putting up with. Dude, Frank, let me tell you a small anecdote. I accidentally queued for a 10 necrotic wake when I was trying to do an 11, and before I could cancel it, they declined me. I'm not kidding. That's not a joke. That happened. But the actual anecdote that I wanted to get to while I have the mic here was that I've already seen it happen. I was pugging with a healer, and like there was a tank in the queue, and they said, "Do not take that tank." They whiffed my key earlier today. So even in 11s, it's already a small.
I had a quick story too.
Yeah,
okay.
I was in 11 Siege of Palace today.
Yeah.
I went to 11 Siege of Palace after doing my weekly dungeon, which, as you know, was a dungeon that isn't on heroic level or mythic level. So I did it on normal level, and therefore, as a prot warrior, I went into battle stance, and then I queued up for Siege of Palace 11. And forgot to go into defensive stance.
Why do you not know if you're defensive or battle stance?
Yeah, it's there. I just don't, I'm just like normally in defensive stance.
See, how does this donkey have higher IO than me? He's got lower IO.
So like I'm getting
why people
fucking
think that.
flamed. I charge into the pool. I'm like, I'm tanking, and then I like fall over. I'm like, wait, what the? Hold on, I like shake it off. Like, let's try it again, boys. And I go again. And I died.
Buyer beware with these flavor of the month.
It
Pugs,
was
bro.
so awful.
let's
I felt
keep
really
moving.
bad. I felt really bad after I realized I was in battle.
Your stance change is kind of like so when I played Prop Paladin, I never really worried about my raid versus Mythic Plus town tree, but now as a mage I do, and I am now subject to the same problem everyone has after doing raid as they go into the key and forget to change their talents. But you are so far gone, you're not only forgetting to change talents, you don't even change your stance, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I need to get a warning that says, I've got a one that says like,
get a warning
not
nice.
like huge as shit. I need one that says you're.
Do you want the one I have on my Fury Warrior?
Scrap, that was a great. We made that weak order. That was great.
We made one. Yeah, no, I made a weak order because I would do that in Keys' Fury. I would go into defensive stance to get out of mechanic, and I'd be like, "Woo, I'm glad I didn't die there," and I'd forget to go back to battle stance and be like, "Why am I dog shit?" But I fixed it.
I'm going to show the two icons we used too, and it was great. Anyways, okay. Yeah. Let's talk about some of the changes to Mythic Plus this week as well. So we got Necrotic Wake, which we talked about, the Javelin no longer stack. Do you guys have any ideas of where you think the 3 Javelins should be used other than Stitch Flesh?
I think
the final boss?
Yeah, that final boss.
Just to get the final boss out of the way.
Here's why I want the final boss is because then you have 2 for Stitch Flesh just in case you wipe. So you still have one.
How long does the Javelin last? Because maybe that's actually a point. Like you still use it on, but you
16 seconds.
So you use it one back to back?
Wait, can you use one on Stitch Flesh and on the creation?
Yes, but I think the Javelin hits everyone in the area.
No, but the Stitch Flesh is on the stage, so but it'll trigger.
Well, you wouldn't use it on Moise stage because it's immune, right?
Yeah, but I'm just saying maybe you lead with hitting the abomination with it, so it's low. I don't know.
Yeah.
So here's why I don't think you need to do that, because they nerfed the abomination festering rot by a ton, which is what the key needed, and I said it every week.
I think we should just use it on the trash pulls going forward.
That's what I was.
If it hits everybody, I don't know why we're not
It
using on
doesn't.
trash bowls. I don't think it does. I think it's single.
Well, did it do it in Shadowlands? And I'm just like confused.
Very assumptive.
I don't remember.
Okay. If I go in and find out that it does, I'm going to come back here and make an emergency podcast where it's just me and 3 empty boxes and saying, these motherfuckers.
These
Anyways,
donkeys.
yeah.
Me and Technique are always speaking confidently about shit we have no idea about.
My wife
Stonewall
keeps telling me
also
about
got
that.
nerfed.
She's like,
and
what
honestly,
are you talking about?
Stone Vault was the surprising one because I think we came into Stone Vault thinking that the council boss, the 2 bosses, would have been the hardest boss, but genuinely, I
They
think
nerfed
that's
it already.
well, it was nerfed a little bit in beta, but like that boss isn't that hard once you understand the concept.
No,
But
Frank, they nerfed
Skarmorak,
the
on the other hand-
timing. They nerfed the timing of when you have to kick, so it became a lot easier.
Well, they did add a little more to the cast bar, but like most people are hitting it within the first millisecond anyways. What
Yeah.
they did do, I think they also fixed the lining up of the timing, which was good. But again, that's not like a nerf that's like fixing as it should have been.
Yeah.
But Skarmorak got a health reduction by 10% and also stunned for longer. The damage is reduced by 15%. Void Speaker Eirik is also reduced by. Actually, I don't even think that was necessary. I felt like that fight was fine,
necessary.
but maybe it's like insane on 13 and 14s. But anyways, yeah, I mean, I'm happy to see those kind of nerfs as well.
I'm happy to see this because I was mentioning earlier, I like how in these new dungeons, it seems like the 3-minute boss is more like what to expect. Whereas I remember in Shadowlands, like you kind of expecting a 5-minute boss most of the time.
Well,
I don't know if you feel the same way.
I think that's that's just the philosophy they've taken forward because you've seen they've made these changes. Like the boss, the trickster and mists, the one with the orbs, right?
Yeah.
I think they made it so you used to have 4 intermissions and now they only have 3. And you can't blow past the 3rd one like you could in the original version of it. But
No.
but like Siege also they made it so that you're not like in a constant battle with time. The second boss. Second boss in Siege as well. They made it so she only jumps at health percentages as opposed to time. Like they've philosophically decided that we need to stop doing that kind of shit.
Yeah, and I will say that Skarmorak definitely felt like it drags so hard compared to those bosses. Like most of the time when I'm doing a 3-minute or like 2.5 minute of everything else in Stone Vault, that one's hitting close to 4. With the same group, obviously, and it's like it just feels like it's so fucking long.
Do you think that's because people are misunderstanding the orbs in that? But I feel like that's because people are understanding the mechanics.
So I mean, a lot of times, like for example, I have to move from orb to orb. Like if there's a lot of melee DPS, like you don't have constant uptime on the boss because you're having to kill all these adds, and they're spread out. And there's also a shield, and it also has a lot of health. It's just like it's a slow fight.
It's also like for melee, it's A, you got to get there, and B, when you do, he does his AoE pulse. So like once you're in there, now you got to get out from the orb.
From my class, I don't have too much trouble getting from one guy to the next because I reset my charge every time something dies. But like if you're a DK man and it's spread out to all the far corners, I mean you're not getting uptime on the boss for that entire phase.
Or you just stay on the boss. Say fuck it.
It depends on the level of the key.
I mean, everyone else can handle it. It's their job.
Okay.
I'm a Death Knight.
I don't think because I've seen that shell and in like a 10 or 11, I've seen that shell get erased within a second because people were doing the mechanics correctly with the orbs.
Have the orbs, yeah.
Yeah. And it's like critical too that the healer gets their 2 orbs. It's kind of like the lightning boss in Nakud. Because it just makes the fight. No, I don't want to say trivial because it's not trivial, but it makes the fight work. But anyways,
I'm gonna say like the orbs to a newer player, the orbs look like a bad thing. They're not like, oh, come and get me. They look like a
10 or 11,
you should
know that though.
Yeah, definitely by the hierarchies, like you should realize the mechanics and how they operate. But I think a lot of people don't.
My question then remaining is we've seen I think I said this to you guys last night. Like, I feel like they've done such a good job with saying, okay, this is a problem in the dungeon and let's fix it. We're 5 weeks into the season now, I think, or starting the 5th week. And, like, is there anything left that is a glaring outlier that needs to be addressed?
I haven't done a lot of keys this week with the new changes. So I don't know if it feels right, but I'm struggling to think of
bosses out. And...
Yeah, I'm struggling to think of a boss that feels too hard right now. Like, there's ones that I feel like were designed with a little too many mechanics, but it's not something that needs to be taken out. Like, it's okay that they're not all as easy as each other. I think they've done a good job balancing.
And it's not, I don't see it here, but they also, excuse me, I've been drinking too much water. I also saw it somewhere in the notes that they fixed the last boss of Dawnbreaker where it will officially die at 60%, which
nice.
I have seen twice now, and it worked. That said, though, it does seem like you go into that last phase with more health than you did originally, because I feel like we always would come in at like 61%, but now we're coming in at 64%. Not sure what that's all about, but anyways.
Yeah, I don't really know.
But I can't think of single boss left that's like, oh yeah, this is, toxic
Necrotic
shit.
Wake needs less count. That's my
Okay.
opinion.
That's the only thing
That's
left.
it.
Like,
That's the only
what's the count that like is holding you up? You think it's the middle pack, like the
Well, I
ad
think
pack?
that these stupid pug tanks keep trying to pull gatekeepers. It pisses me off.
That's stupid though. They
It's
shouldn't do that.
stupid. Yeah,
I
stop.
feel like they'd still
Yeah.
do it though if there was less count. They just like find a reason to skip something else.
But
I
then
don't
you
know.
could skip something else. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe
It
they
just feels
just pulled
like
on purpose to avoid somebody from butt pulling it. I don't know.
there's way too much damn trash in that dungeon, man.
So, from tanking, a lot of people like to pull, the first bags and the soldiers, the other bags, and then the harvester pack right there in the front. And then when the patrol comes through, they'll try and snipe them in as well. That could be how you're getting the gatekeeper, or are they like purposefully pulling the gatekeeper?
No,
Well-
I'm telling you, I saw this guy literally pull everything and then heroic leap into the gatekeeper.
Well, in technique, there was also
Yeah, they're
that
just
time
really dumb then.
that necrotic
Yeah.
wake we were doing. Remember where we pulled a gatekeeper? And I went back and watched the video and I didn't see it, but like we had wiped and ran back in from the angle of the front door. And I was sitting there the whole time, like not wanting to make the same mistake again. And there was no way I could point myself without my orb, because I was arcane, like I just launch orbs randomly. Pulling
I don't
another
know if they-
gatekeeper.
I feel like they changed something, and there's a lot more like abilities from paladins and mages and death knights that
Knights,
are
yeah.
like these casts that really shouldn't be aggroing things that are not in combat.
Going
that are-
through walls.
That are pulling
Well-
shit. Yeah, through walls or far range. Like orb. I feel like that didn't happen back in Shadowlands.
Well,
I don't
orb,
know. Maybe
orb did happen, but you didn't launch them for free, so you knew when you were launching it to say like, okay, I did that.
yeah.
But the other side of it is, though, I remember tanking in Necrotic Wake in Shadowlands. I
Yeah.
always would continuously pull that stuff back. Like it was always pull back, pull back, pull back.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen that this season. But
Yeah.
that's discussion for another day. Okay, so Shawnee, any last words on? Do you think there's anything that should be still addressed? It hasn't been.
I think it's all pretty good.
Like genuinely, I feel like this is a great season. Great
Yeah.
dungeons.
So far, yeah.
Everything's tuning really well. Yeah. All right. I just want to talk about this quickly. This was a huge point of contention on Twitter. The Zekvir, which is the 13th delve, no longer counts for your vault. Now, this wasn't even on my radar before this, right?
Yeah.
But apparently this is, I guess, I'm not gonna say the easier, but the faster way to get your vault filled with 8 slots on the world tier of it.
I mean, the first Zekvir, like I could blast in like 2 minutes consistently.
Yeah.
You mean
so
the
what was the
question mark
reward
one?
for
Just
like
the first question mark one, yeah.
what was
Hero-
the
it was hero
reward
track.
level? Oh, who cares?
Well,
That's kind of my feel.
I think that's where we need to be careful if we're going into like the 1% viewpoint here, because
I know.
we are not having
Nobody-
trouble getting hero
nobody's-
track gear.
Nobody's doing this boss that needs heroic gear. Everyone's
they are.
decked out. No, they're not. Everyone's decked out in heroic gear.
Technique.
Like,
What?
what in the fuck are you talking? I could go on Twitter right now and find like 40
How many heroic
people.
pieces do you need, Frank?
Here, Frank,
We
can
are
I
the
get back on
1%. That's my
topic?
point.
I'm asking you, have you killed this boss?
No, I haven't done it, period.
Okay. And do you need heroic gear?
No, but I'm also running 11s.
Okay,
I'm in the top
that's all I'm
1%.
saying. That's all I'm saying.
I still
Shawnee?
have a couple pieces that I need heroic at least.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I still have
my
a couple
point is this.
pieces because I get no drops. So yeah.
Like, I still think it should reward 1, which it sounds like it still does. You get like 1 and then no more
Yeah,
credit.
I would say if it rewards 1, I think that's fine. You can do it once a week. It's like a world boss. That's
Because
fair.
otherwise you're just spamming this over and over and over again in like a course of 2
Yeah.
hours, let's say. And, where's the engagement with that? But people are really upset about this. So technically
Why?
it sounds like you're telling them you're an idiot, but Like,
No,
because
I
they
think
can't
the
fill up their vault
reward-
quickly.
Hold on. I will say, like, I can pretty much slam through a delve, and it takes me about like 8 to 12 minutes to do a delve, or 2 minutes to do Zekvir. It's like, okay, it's not that much slower to just slam a
Well,
delve.
2 to 8 is a 400% increase.
I
Yeah,
think
but why are
that
you doing them all in a row? You have all week to fucking do them. Chill, man.
Well,
Like,
what about the whistles? The dads who have, you know.
I'm sorry. People are annoyed they have to play the game they're paying for. Like, what are you paying for if
That's
you're
a
not playing
stance
the
I
game?
agree with. That's a stance
play
I
the-
agree with.
Play the damn game and shut up. That's how I feel.
I agree. Like Zekvir's Lair should probably be like a 1-box reward, not something you can grind
It
over
is.
and over.
No, you can't even
It is
get one
now.
box off of it alone because you need to
Oh,
do
you can't
two.
get one?
You need to do two
Oh,
to
yeah.
get that first box.
Half a box
Yeah.
is fair. That's all it should worth.
All right.
But I feel like the 2-star should probably be like a mythic level reward. Probably.
Well, no,
It
because
seems to
it's-
me like a pretty hard achievement. A lot of people haven't
Well,
gotten that
once
yet.
you've done it once, like, I could definitely do it again
Scrap.
pretty easily.
Myth Trek
Huh?
gear out of that versus having to do 10s or 11s. Which is the easier
I
of
would
the two?
definitely do it.
Yeah.
10s to 11s is way fucking harder because you have a whole group of idiots of
Yeah.
donkeys. Whereas, like, in the Zekvir, you only got to worry about yourself.
All right.
10s are, I don't know, 10s are easy at this point, and I feel like I haven't done Zekvir yet, so we'll see if I can do the 13th.
He
with
keeps
little
using
effort.
this excuse of, like, I just haven't done it. Like, just fucking do it, you
All right.
pussy.
Let's get on to the raid, which was the main
Okay.
topic. Okay.
As soon as I haven't worked a 12-hour day, I will.
I
go
want to
and
show
do
you
that.
You were
guys a
doing keys in the
website
middle
that
of the
was listed on Wowhead. It's called Wipefest.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love this website.
Wipefest?
Wipefest. Wipefest.gg.
I'll take
You take your Warcraft log. So here's a Warcraft log of us killing, for example, Bloodhound Horror on Heroic last night. All right. And you know, you see numbers. You see Braylene coming in 5th, and you think, wow, she might not be that great.
Dude, raid's
Um,
not my thing.
You're being beat by the person who's watching timer scrap. But anyways,
well, who's to say I'm not also watching
You're not.
timers?
but like what
I'm
I like
watching
about
YouTube.
this, because I wish I had this when I was tanking, because I could see when Technique would taunt with his AoE shit that he says he never did, because you can literally see a timeline of every single thing that happens in the raid, right? So that's great. But what I love about
Check
this,
the box that says taunts down there, right quick. The bottom,
oh here.
and then uncheck everything else.
What are we doing here?
Technique
don't
just
know,
wants
just-
a moment of
I just love spreadsheets and shit, man.
Yeah,
Let's
I do
see
too.
this
You're
I-
about to
list.
get
love
called out for taunting inappropriately, like you seem to do.
I use the AoE taunt when I have the boss's aggro and when I need the trash aggro.
I see you taunt twice in a row. Hold on. It doesn't
Yeah.
seem like much of a tank swap.
Well, no, there's a phase swap, and I pick him up after the
anyway,
phase.
this is irrelevant, right?
Sure.
What I wish I had this back then, Scrap.
Well,
I
most
need to
works.
find the log where I would accuse Technique of doing that, but that's
Okay,
again,
well,
that's
just to give people background information, like every other boss, the other tank accused this technique of taunting off of him.
when
and
really all I
Technique
did was shield
swears he
slam with
doesn't.
massive fucking crits. That's all I'm saying.
I feel like as the off
that's
tank,
not how
you
it
should,
works.
you're not
This is
keeping
how
track
it works,
of a lot of
dude.
stuff.
Do more damage.
No, when you taunt, you have 8 seconds of like threat generation where you can't be
Yeah.
overtaken.
Correct. Yeah.
So how would I taunt and then within a
I don't think
second
it's
you'd
8
have
seconds.
it back?
I think it's like 3 or 4.
Maybe, but what my point is that like okay, we're not getting down. That's not today's topic,
We're not.
What I
seconds
do
is
like
the
about
entire
this,
fucking
though-
fight, dude.
right? Because
What did you like
we will-
about this?
We
Go
will
on.
talk about this more next week with your TDV.
I'm gonna
What
bind
was
my
it?
taunt buttons to say
TDV, yeah.
Johnny,
Taunted
TDV.
Johnny,
in
explain
raid
TDV.
chat,
I'm gonna
and-
mute Technique in a second.
Mute technique.
TDV is your total dungeon value. So
Okay.
at the base, it is how much you basically contribute value-wise to the dungeon outside of just your DPS or just your healing. So like interrupts, reses, heroes. The base is how much healing plus damage you do overall.
So
But
have
yeah,
you-
you can get more.
This sounds like something someone
Tricky.
else said back in the day on the podcast.
Oh, you have
Well,
to
they never
shout
said
out.
it on
It
it.
was.
Pleb
it's-
was talking to
I don't remember
Scrap
his
and I
name.
about it.
Not pleb, the paladin.
Yeah, he used to say just as healing, but no, we're
Oh,
going
Garen.
farther.
Garen,
It's
yeah,
deeper.
Garen said
Garen
that
used to
your
say, well,
value
my
is based on
healing
your
and
healing
damage
plus
contribution.
DPS. Okay.
Yeah,
On point.
So, Shawnee,
healing-
you haven't looked
Yeah.
at this yet, right?
correct.
And Scrap, you haven't looked at this yet, correct?
No, I haven't heard of
So this has some sort of TDV, right? It's raid, of
Oh.
Tanks
course.
aren't even on the fucking list, man.
Yes, they are. You're right here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you're
But
low.
what it does, it gives you a score based on like, did you survive to the end? Like it's like a required score. I think they call it. Like, what are they? I don't know. They give you a score based on like your performance of executing mechanics, and then they give you a bonus score for doing certain things, right? So Scrap, I think I pointed this out to you last night. Like you did pretty well on the bonus score of one of the fights
thank
we
you.
looked at. Lithian
jump a
here
lot.
has 52. Your boy has 100, right?
Okay, chill.
Where
are you, Braylon?
hover
Where I
over
don't
the
see you.
52. I'm actually curious. Hover over his 52. Lithium's 52.
Well, you have to click them to see what app. Like, so he helped with the Black Bulwark interrupt, which was a big part of the fight. And he also had his flask and gear on and all that stuff, so he gets points for that. He used a pot, but he could have
What
used
fight
two.
are you looking at?
This is the second boss.
Black Bulwark. You talking about the Watchers interrupt? There's
Yeah,
only one interrupt in that
the ads
fight.
downstairs.
There's literally one interrupt.
Yeah.
Well, he got it.
Okay,
he gets
anyway,
points
he
for
got
that.
it. Let's okay.
Okay,
Here,
cool. Great.
Technique, did you get it?
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
0 times, of course.
Yeah. But anyways,
It's also got my wrong
there's
transmog.
obviously
I don't look like that anymore anyway. But I don't look like that.
there's
The transmog's
obviously
different.
like a very subjective score that they're building here. But I do love this because it lets me as a raid leader know. And the first question I want to ask you all is, as we're progressing into heroic, we are now on heroic Ansurrect, and the point has come where we're at a wall, and we hit this wall every raid where we are carrying some people. And I'm gonna use Leo. Leo's a bystander. He doesn't mind being used
Let's
as
go,
a
Leo.
welcome back, Leo. Who like honestly knows he's like, I'm just here because Frank asked me to be here. And we're carrying him. And like, so my question to y'all is, we are at a point now where we have to make that same decision where we are quote unquote carrying people. Do you believe we should move forward with carrying and just say that's our guild and that's what we do? Or do you think that we should cut? So that's the first question.
So I think the way we do it is fine because we'll cut people for prog and say, hey, take a bench until we finish it, and then once we get it on farm, they're welcome back, and people can come on alts and people switch around as long as we don't keep hitting a wall. Like there was a time in the last tier of raid where suddenly we had too many alts and all of a sudden we were progging again, and you were like, okay, everybody out and come back in your mains. It was Smolder on, I think. So I think you should, if you're lagging behind, it's only fair to everybody else that you don't hold the whole group back, and I think all the people we run with are really sweet and kind and should understand that. It's like, hey, like even a lot of people that we run with who are lagging behind, they don't have a lot of time to play, they haven't been able to do a ton of gearing, but
Yeah.
that you have to understand that it's like, this is prog, this is hard, and if you can't meet the gear expectation and the DPS expectation, it's not really fair for you to be there. And I think there's a nice way to say that if other guilds are having trouble with it too.
Shawnee?
Yeah, 100%. I'm okay with removing people if we're just sitting there smashing our face into a wall. And then once you get it down, like Scrap said, like put them back in.
Yeah.
To me, it's no different than anything else I would do. And like if I had a job, like a regular type job, or if I was on some kind of team and we weren't succeeding, and it was like a glaring reason why. If it's like we're all at the same space, then it's all of us. But if there's like, if you can say like these two people are holding it back because they're not meeting the DPS for the amount of, like, they can't meet the damage amount of health they put into the boss, then I'd bench them. And if I've been benched in guilds I've been in, so yeah, I'm okay with that.
Tech.
What's the question? No, I'm kidding. No, I feel like with our guild, it's all vibe based, man. At some point you're gonna reach a point where like, your players that are performing are getting kind of exhausted, and the players that are not performing are just like gritting their teeth, like wondering when it's coming. And at some point you're going to have to make the call, and it's not a fun call. Nobody likes to say like, "Hey, you got to go." Nobody likes that conversation. But it's not like we're unfriending you, dude. We're all cool. You just got to come back, when you remember how to play the game.
I said it nicer.
I think like this is the way that it kind of like materialized for me, because I, as the person who would usually have to tell the person, hey, I'm going to ask you to bench or whatever, I hate doing that to a community that we try to build that is as open-armed and welcoming as we possibly can be, to the point where this season when we made the raid, like tons of people have come to the Discord because of the podcast. And I mean, we have a ton of new people.
Man.
What?
The group is literally as big as it can be. I don't think you could invite more people.
Well, we're not maxed anymore. Some people have like
the first week.
The facts.
Yeah, the first. But anyways, point is that like we want to let as many people as we possibly can in. But to the other side of the point, like I think Shauna, you would probably agree with this the most. You want to get out of this raid as quickly as possible. You're not there for the vibes. You're there for AOTC. Give me my check mark. You know, I might come to one more if there's like a really good item I want to get, but otherwise I don't even care that much. You didn't even care about your legendary on Farak.
Nope.
So to your credit, like you are owed the respect of, hey, like I can't waste your time just for the fact that Leo is farting around and dying every other pull. So that's the first question. Seems like we're all in agreement there. The second follow-up question is, then how do you make that decision? And I'm gonna pull up our logs, and I'm not gonna ask you to name names specifically, but like I want to know what factors what factors are you thinking about?
Instantly, yeah, the boss goes up in health per person in it, and if it's a percent base, so like it works out to a number. Say it's 20 million, just because this number came to my mind. If you're not doing 20 million damage and you're giving the boss 20 million health, you gotta go.
Okay.
Like, if you can't at least do your portion, that would be my first thing. I'm like, oh, you...
Yeah, Musham's gotta go. Look at him down
there.
there.
By the way...
I said cut the
I only said 20 million just randomly. I don't know what it is, but I know there is a percent, and that's in other guilds.
This is here. I'm gonna pull Queen Answer, because that was actually like a boss we had no trouble with. Right.
Yeah.
Wait. We had no trouble with Queen Anseric?
No, that was the second boss.
Time.
Yeah.
So this is that would be my.
This is the last one we had of the night. You know, we have our like second to last pull. So I'm trying to get this NBA ad out of the way. Like the other part of it is, and I think Wipefest will help with that. But like for me, I don't even so much get bothered by the damage outputs all the time. Now there is a point where I have to say, like, if you're not above the tank, we have to have a conversation, right? But for me, it's more of like, are you executing all the juggling you have to do? Are you, you know, when I say stand on the boss's ass, are you standing on the boss's ass, or are you off in, you know, Europe?
Yeah.
But I just like I said, I just wanted to get you guys just like mindset of like what is it that you would factor into it, and is there a red flag where you immediately go, no, I can't. Like for me,
so far,
if you're dying every other pull, no, like you can't.
Definitely.
Continue.
So far, Anseric is like got so much personal responsibility in that first phase. Like, if you get the green circle, you got to put it in the right spot. Like, you know, if you're assigned to hit the middle, you got to do it on time. I'm guilty of not doing that right a couple of times. But like, just it's so everybody has to listen and use comms. Like, if you want to be there, that's the bare minimum, I think.
Yeah, I think for me it would be like damage. I mean, at the end of the night, I'd be like, all right, this person died in the first, we'll say 2 minutes, like 8 out of 13 polls. I'd be like, that's too many. I personally think we go too long as deaths build up. And you guys, oh, we got to see it. I'm like, they're not going to see anything. They can't even get the first part. So, like, I would wipe sooner just to get back at it instead of waiting.
Oh, you mean like keeping the run going because I want people to practice?
Yeah, and I'm like, well, the people that can't even get past the first part are
not practicing.
Yeah, they're not doing anything except laying there on the floor. So
yeah, I mean, my method, and I'm not
me personally.
No, I get it. I get
you run it, I'm fine. But yeah, those are
my method is like, we haven't seen the intermission phase, let's do this, or we've seen it only once, let's keep going, right? Like that usually is my method, but I get your point.
For me personally, I am a visual learner, and I'm a slow learner, and I need the practice. So I'm happy when it goes a little further, so I could just see a little bit more, so that I'm not the one fucking up on a pull that's good. You know, like I'll fuck up on the pull that we're wiping on. It's a little more comfortable for me.
I guess my point would be more not the first time we're doing it, but like when we're on like the 4th night of progression on some boss, and Frank's like, "All right, guys, come on, pull together. There's too many people dying early," if you're saying that, it means we're not going to succeed anyway. So we're just sitting there to continue something we're not going to be able to get through because too many people are dead.
I think.
Frank, scroll up just a touch on your page.
Either which way.
A little bit higher? Isn't there a checkbox that says, where it says ignore events after deaths? Hit 1 death. Yeah. I'm just, an old raid leader of mine said, it's really hard to do damage when you're dead. And obviously that was super true, of course. We're not wiping on Queen because we're not doing enough damage. We're wiping on Queen because people are making mistakes. And
because they're dead.
And we're dying. And therefore not doing enough damage to get through certain parts of the fight. So I think it's way more important to not look at the fucking details meter and call out people for their low damage. As much as I agree with you, if you're doing less damage than the tank, you don't belong here right now. We love you, but you probably just don't belong here right now.
Yeah.
But that's just not what's wiping our raid. We don't have a DPS problem. We have a
mechanic
people
problem.
Standing in shit problem.
But we did get
standing in the wrong spots problem.
We did get to the second phase, I guess, where there's ads and stuff. And we did have 3 people dead, but we were far from making the DPS.
However,
we got close.
However, real quick, I feel like that wasn't necessarily a DPS check in the sense that we weren't doing enough. I think it was. I don't know that everyone was focused on the right target,
and they didn't they were AOE because they have all those spiders spawn at the opening.
Everyone wants to fucking pad their numbers. Focus on the target.
A good point there. I will kick someone who is padding and worried about the wrong thing faster than I will kick someone who has DPS below the tank. Right? I'm not going to name names, but we pulled this afterwards and we said okay, well, are they doing damage? Are they saving their cooldowns for when the roots come out, the webs come out, just so they can fling up on the meter, or are they still doing damage to the boss? And if I find that, holy hell, to me, that is selfishness at its worst. And it's no, okay, you know what? You sit out. You cannot, you've all the wrong priorities here. If you want to go and find a group to build your parses on so you can EP, go somewhere else. That's not for us.
Yeah.
But
I don't think we're having too much of a problem with that. I know that I was doing that sometimes in that first phase pool because I was getting bored. No, not a lot though, but I was getting bored and I was I wonder if I could get this cooldown back up before this.
Well, optimizing your there's definitely a place to say I should hold a cooldown because it will make this part of the fight
detrimentally.
Easier. But
they're important to do good boss damage, but it's more important to do the good damage to those certain features.
Not necessarily though, because and this isn't particular for this fight, but back in I think it was even in Shadowlands, we'd have a couple of our healers even talk about their DPS parsing.
I know that's a peeve for you.
It's guys, what? And I think that really kicked off the whole argument of what is the role?
Yep.
But I pulled up the deaths here.
Yeah, it was while people were dying to not getting healed, they were talking about DPS parsing.
Yeah. I pulled up the deaths here because I think this is where I go to first to see, even do it in M+, where I see what was the over, because for example, this 7 million damage taken. Now, granted, it was 3 web blades, so they got hit by web blade. And they died immediately.
Think he may have disconnected on that one.
Yeah. I'm not trying to call him out on it. I'm just saying, there's nothing. If it weren't a disconnect, but there's also okay, look, this is 8 seconds worth of damage.
Dude, he's the worst.
This is 8 seconds of damage.
I love you, man.
And I know this says 5 million, but let's say 2 million. I'd say well, that means that they weren't getting healing, and it allows me as a raid leader to say, I don't know why, but healers get upset whenever I want to assign groups. Tridents. We've talked about tridents. They get upset when I say hey, I want you to focus on group 1 and you focus on group 2. I don't know what that's all about, because for me as a healer, I want that. I want to know that this is my 5. I just gotta stay in my lane and I'm gonna win. But yeah, this is the stuff that as a raid leader I wanted to decompress.
Hold on. Kilrod died to devour. Isn't that the webbed you in and pulled you and you ate the boss?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
250. That would have been at that point.
As a what's his class?
Demon Hunter. Are you trying to call Kilrod out?
as a
you got eaten by that
ballerina dance everywhere.
You
All right,
got
let's
to
find
do that when you had
techniques,
a
though.
leap on
Yes,
cooldown.
yes,
Let's
my
find it.
leap was on cooldown. I'm stupid.
Let's find it. Where does technique die to devour? There it is.
It was
Oh,
one
there it
time.
is.
It was one
Yep.
time.
One time.
Anyways.
Oh, look, Kilrod died there too. What do you know?
Okay,
Sorry,
let's move
Kill.
on to our final major topic. I just want to do a tier list of all the bosses. We've seen the raid fully now. I'm going to call back where we did normal raid, and I said I wasn't really vibing with this raid. I am changing my tune a little bit, but there's still some bosses that I think are stinkers. So I just wanted to get y'all's opinion. So we'll start with the first boss, which is Olgrex. Yeah, Olgrex. And keep in mind, as you're raiding these, think of them in the place they are in the raid, because like I think it's unfair, obviously, to say that the first boss is going to be crazy.
Yeah.
So, technique, you start us off. Olgrex.
I'm gonna give him an S. Honestly, it's a new mechanic. You gotta feed the boss. Yeah, keeping in mind it is a first boss. It's welcome to the raid. Here's a new thing. You gotta feed the boss some shit you just killed. He blurped it up. You gotta grab it and give it to him. I think that's kind of interesting. It's new. It's fun. Otherwise, it's a simple boss. It's a first boss, and I get it. I'm gonna. You know what? Give him an A. Give him an A.
Well,
no, it's a solid B tier boss. It's
okay, so
fine for the beginning, but it's
downgraded between them.
There's nothing fun about that boss. It's so boring.
You get to just pump and ignore everything.
Shawnee?
You just said I have to go pick up shit and feed it to him. Stupid.
So
hate you,
I enjoy it as a first boss. I think it eases people in and makes them feel good as they proceed to the next bosses. So it gives them that like boost of confidence. I give it an A.
Okay, so it's gonna land an A. I would give it an S tier, except for I think the feeding part is a little too like they started with something that was gonna be fun, and then it's just like, well, you just gotta feed him twice, and then by then it's done. You know, and it's like, so I like alter time, and I just pick up a food, feed him, and then I alter time back, and then run it in to feed him a second time, and then it's done. And like I like the idea, it just kind of fell a little short there for me. Okay. Bloodbound Horror, second boss. This is the boss where you have to watch the beams as they rotate around with the ads down below. Scrap, you can kick us off this time.
I'll give that one a A+. I like that one a lot.
Moving ahead of Olgrex. Okay.
Easily. Olgrex is terrible.
Anything that stands out as you rated a B?
I mean, I like a boss with a lot of movement. I know it probably sucks for casters, but for me, it's fun to move around the room. You know, we're split up. We have teams. It's fun. It's got good flow. I like that my orb stays on the boss the whole time, or my circle stays on the boss the whole time because he doesn't move. That's pretty cool.
All right, Shawnee?
That's it.
I'm giving it a C.
Okay, so we're going down to B level.
I feel it's too difficult for the second boss, and that's the main reason why.
What is
it's hard.
Go on.
Well, Scrap, you don't think anything, sorry, because you don't listen.
Because I'm a legend.
Yeah, that's true. You are top 100. I just found that when we were doing it in heroic, it was like it was harder than the 2 to 3 bosses after it, and I felt like it should have been later at the difficulty it was.
Well, and I feel like that's a criticism also of the other bosses, but yeah, I get your point.
Yeah, I just feel like I don't think it's horrible. I think for a second boss, though, it's too tough. That's how I'm looking at it.
Technique?
As a tank, I really like that fight. It's one of the most like mechanically important fights for tanking. You know, just positioning the boss and the beam locations. But it's also a pretty big DPS check, as we found for that first week or two. I like it. I'm okay with it. I'm good with it. I'm not a big fan of like stationary bosses, where you know, like center of the room, do a circle around the puddle, stand in the puddle, run laps around him. I'm not a big fan of that. So I'm not going to give it an S, but I'll give it an A. I give it an A.
Okay. I'm going to stick with Shawnee here. I give it a C. And for one main reason. The downstairs phase, I'll leave it in B. The downstairs phase isn't hard because it's like a mechanic check. It's hard because
it's RNG.
The ad will spawn, literally last night, the ad spawned on the opposite side of the boss. And
well, you luckily had 2 ads spawn in one location and one on the other side, right?
Yeah, we like because there's 2
spawn.
casters and 1 melee, right? And so the melee and the caster spawn next to each other, of course, like they usually do. But there's always that second caster that like spawns in Egypt,
in Narnia.
Yeah. And it's like, why? because if you don't have like, we have gear now, and a lot of us are geared to the teeth. But if you're like in a, let's call it like it's week 5, some people are still doing heroic and it's hard. Or even in Pugs, like if I wanted to pug a heroic group right now, I don't know if my DPS is going to be able to, let alone get it killed, versus if they have to run through while waiting for a beam to open the door to this mob. I don't understand that.
Certainly not a pug-friendly mechanic. That's one that like any troll tank could just be like, fuck this group, I'm done, and wipe everyone because the beams.
I look at this as like, if I wanted, because we could now with cross faction, cross server, cross all that stuff, right? We could do mythic rating if we wanted to, and I would say, yeah, let's do the first 2 bosses. But this boss is making me say, no, thank you, I don't want to do that.
Oh, we can do it, bro.
We could do it. I don't want to do it because I don't want to get angry and going, what the fuck? To the RNG gods.
What WoW is all about, dude.
All right.
Yeah.
We don't play this game for fun.
Boss number 3, Sikran. I'm going to start us off with this one. D tier. Boring as fuck.
I mean, I make the joke that, hey, everybody, this boss only has 1 mechanic. And it really does.
It's a mechanic we've all seen 1,000 times. You know, hey, I'm going to do something to some of you, go somewhere, and then just do me some more. And that's really all it is. When you get the one ability, you move, and everyone else is just spanking you.
This boss feels unfinished.
And it's like to the point where it's not about doing the mechanic rightly or doing the mechanic correctly. It's about, as long as you don't royally fuck it up, it doesn't matter. Because like we had the pizza slice strategy where you like start here and then it kind of move around the clock and keep moving. But like, it doesn't matter if you eat up space because you don't even get halfway through the room before she's dead.
Yeah, we don't even do a quarter of it.
And that was like within week 2. You guys knocked us out easily. Shawnee, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I don't know if I go quite D, but yeah, it's definitely not like a C. I don't think any of the bosses are atrocious, but I concede to your point. So if you left it in D, I'd be like, yeah, sure, whatever.
This one's atrocious. This is an offender.
I give it a D plus because I like the trinket that it drops.
Jesus.
And the neck piece. The neck piece is dope.
Oh yeah, the tanking neck piece.
The versatility. Yeah, thank you for calling it the tank neck. I love that.
Good
thing everyone rolls on it.
It's my best in slot, so.
Yeah, of course it is.
It literally
gives you
everybody's best in slot.
When you get a heal, which is what 3 times a fucking.
Dude, Frank is always soaking the heals up, man.
That's true. I think he gets more resurrections than heals, though.
Got him. High five.
Go ahead.
All right. Any last thoughts on Sikran? No? Okay.
Nah, he's good.
Rashanan, our Dawnbreaker boss. Shawnee, you can kick us off this time.
I enjoy that boss. I'd put it in A. I have a lot of fun in that fight.
Okay.
He'd put it in the A, everyone.
Not me.
Technique, where would you put it in?
Honestly, I'm not a big fan of like the fact that like we see it in the mythic and then we see it in the raid. I don't know that I like we killed half of them in the mythic, now we got to kill the other half in the raid. That's kind of weird.
No, I like that.
I also don't. No, you know what? Fuck it. I don't like him.
I don't like him. Yeah.
I don't like him.
Scrap your.
I'm gonna give him a solid B. Like he's not terrible. He's got some cool mechanics with like the gradients that we can't seem to figure out with the opaque versus.
No, we got it now.
Transparent.
I'll give it a C minus because as just a melee DPS, ain't nothing to fucking do in this fight except occasionally hokey pokey. Like you just stay in the middle.
Hey, you're DPSing unless you get chosen, right?
If you get a mechanic, then you move to the left. And you know what? I have a huge pet peeve for bosses just because of how my class talents right now that have like ads that are up for like 1.2 seconds because I can't really do good AoE damage in 1.2 seconds. Yeah, and it's like, so I might as well just go single target on this boss, but then my damage isn't as high, and that fucking annoys me.
I have a question then. What's the difference between that boss and the second boss for you then?
Oh, the second boss? The second boss has a lot of movement. You know, you're moving around the circle. You have to keep an eye on your tank, and you have to keep an eye on what's the beam, where the ads are spawning. There's ad management in that. There's no ad management in.
Yes, there is.
Literally in Rashanan, DPS movement is. Oh, I have a thing.
Well, the Ulgrax ads, it's like 1 or 2 at a time.
Oh, they're
right. And then you have to all go into the circle, and then you have to move and make rings for the ads.
We're already in the circle. because
he's
we're made
talking about the
that
circle
runway
is
between the
stupid.
two poison.
Yeah, we say
waves.
everyone get in the circle. You still have to go to the back of the circle. I'm just saying I feel
Bro, I
there's
don't
more
even
than
move.
no movement. Yeah, because anyway.
No, I mean, Shawnee, I don't
There's
want to shit on
nothing
you,
for-
but this is definitely a C tier boss.
C tier. Nothing to fucking do except
Two problems.
Because you don't
Everything-
do mechanics.
No,
Dude,
Shawnee.
the mechanics are literally
Shawnee, they are.
like,
They're all
so-
like just like step to your left, step to your right, step to your left, step to your right. Even
Yeah.
the waves, like we just make a narrow runway where it's like, okay, those two people just step one to your left or right, and then make us, everyone in the middle not have to worry about
Everybody
Make a
anything.
little
Stay
gap,
still.
yeah.
Everybody
here's
else
my
is
other
doing
problem with it.
nothing.
My other problem is, and actually maybe this isn't a problem. Let me ask you the question: do you guys think it's good that a lot of the mechanics from the dungeon were already like they just kept them all, and they maybe like added one or two more things?
I don't mind that so much because I like the wave thing, but I think it's much more interesting in Dawnbreaker. Like, is it wrong to say that?
Actually, yeah. No,
It's
I
a
agree.
lot fucking harder and more interesting in Dawnbreaker, and then it's like, okay, the raid boss, yeah, there's more mechanics, but it's literally just
Because it's not as punishing when one person gets it wrong,
that's true.
unless they get the
Yeah.
wave wrong. The wave could be punishing, but
It can be,
I feel like-
especially when it doesn't display. That's a fun bug I keep running into.
I feel like this fight could be tuned up a little bit, like add
yeah.
something to make it a little harder than the M plus.
I feel like if the
back
ads
to the
like
Bloodbound
stayed
horror problem too,
alive,
of it being the second boss.
if the ads
Well,
were consequential in any way, it could be good, but they're not. They're stupid.
Well, I agree that the ads die quickly, but even then, that's like the least of my worries. My problem is like I'm not really paying attention, and I'm the one raid leading. Like I just
I'm
stopped.
asleep.
Those ads come out and it's like negligible. Nobody gives a fuck. You just
No.
like thunderclap and they're fucking dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really irrelevant. So they maybe could change that aspect to give them maybe twice as much health.
Well, the good
He
news
looks
is
cool.
the good news
I'll give
is
him that.
the second half of the dungeon or raid gets a lot better.
Yes.
So we'll start with Ovanax, the worm god, right? Now, Technique, you and I said this when we first reviewed the dungeon or the raid, that there are better fights like this out there. Do you still stand by that now that we've seen the heroic?
I like all the fights like this where there's a lot of tank obligation to more than just like when to taunt, when to use defensives. Like you have to pick up ads, you have to position the tank, the boss in the right place. I really like this fight as a tank, and all the fights like it, like Broodmother from the last patch, whatever. I'm gonna put it as a S or A plus. I'm gonna put it up there.
Put it right here.
I enjoy the fight.
All right, Shawnee.
Whatever's good. Fuck, I
Whatever.
don't know, man. I'm so aggravated right now.
Why?
No.
Because we disagreed?
No, because anytime you guys disagree, you just legit are like, we'll talk louder than him. He'll stop
Okay.
talking, and then we'll carry on.
We're all gonna say
No.
absolutely quiet here.
No, it's I don't know, A, B.
A, B.
Sure.
So okay, we'll leave it
Yeah.
in the middle of A right now.
I think it's fair to also put in that Shawnee fucking hates raiding. So this is like
It's true.
I think this has been one of the raids I've enjoyed the most. I think all the bosses are relatively like they all have things about them I like. I'm typically cup half full than half empty. So when we go to a boss and you guys like, I don't like all this stuff, I'm like these things and stuff I don't like, I'm like, whatever. So like, yeah, for me, honestly, all of them are S's because it's the only raid I've ever wanted to do in a long time. But
Okay, hold on to that thought. I want to come back to that in a second. Okay.
yeah, but like A, B, I guess.
Okay. Scrap.
I give it an A minus only because I think we just had Broodmother, and I think Broodmother was cooler.
Yeah.
And this fight is so
Broodmother.
similar to Broodmother. Like, yeah, the ads are all different, but like it's like the same mechanic. And Broodmother just was like the two groups was like fucking cool as shit. I like
Yeah.
that a lot. So
Just to
A minus.
piggyback off of that right quick, just in comparison to Broodmother, okay? As a tank, in Broodmother, one tank was on the boss, one tank was on the ads. In this one, it's definitely more challenging as a tank because there's the taunt swap constantly happening. And so depending on who's currently tanking, the other one has to do a really good job picking those spiders up. So I think this one's better because it is more challenging for the two tanks because there's just too many fights in raids. That's just for tanks anyway. Stand there, taunt swap.
Yeah.
That's all. And it's for a player that I consider myself to be a good player. It's just not like challenging enough to go in and go in the raid and literally all you're doing is swapping taunts and popping defenses once in a while.
I haven't tanked this, but I remember the Broodmother fight being extremely difficult as a tank. One, because I was getting blasted like heavily as the one that tanked the boss. I don't know what it was like on the ad side. But
it was
two,
active, you're
Running
leaping
around.
him, jumping him, charging him, running him, silencing him, kicking.
It's fun.
It was a good fight. I liked it a lot.
And the reason why I liked it a lot too is because I got to choose to be the one that broke the eggs on that fight, whereas this one you don't. Now, you could argue that might be better for the overall raids experience, that like, oh, everyone has to pay attention. But they're not actively engaged with the process like you were on Broodmother either. I was gonna rate it like in the B tier, but we'll leave it in the A as a group because I don't feel strongly enough to say like it shouldn't be in there. It's a good fight, and it definitely doesn't deserve, like, if it wasn't for Broodmother, it'd probably be like a A to S tier for me.
Yeah, if Broodmother didn't already happen, it'd be S tier.
But Broodmother was like the pinnacle of those kind of fights.
Yeah.
It's hard to like get away from that too. Once you've been like, oh, people really enjoyed that, like let's do it again. Like I would too.
Well,
And
I hope
think that
to
this
see.
is a good version.
Yeah, I hope. I mean, like, all raids we have like, oh, this is just like a patchwork fight. This is a council fight. I hope we also have a brood fight, like, and everything. I like this mechanic and I hope it sticks around. I think it's cool.
Been around since what, like Blackwing Lair?
Yeah,
right.
The first boss of Blackwing
Yeah.
Lair, where you had to get that was like, to me, I still don't understand what you did in that fight. But anyways, let's look. All right, Kaiveza.
We
Shawnee,
love
kick us off.
Kaiveza.
Don't we, folks? We love Kaiveza.
Like A.
A, okay.
Yeah, sure.
Why A though? Like, I'm
think
trying to
there's-
read the room right now, and I would assume Scrap's gonna put this in S.
Like,
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty, like, I don't know. Like I said, I don't mind any of them, so I'm trying to think of how you guys like evaluate it and go on the same way. And
No,
I think there's a fair amount to do in difficult. I like them all overall, but I'm trying to be like somewhat like look at it from the outside.
Don't worry about being agreeable. Just tell us why you think this
No.
boss slaps or is kind of slapping.
I think it's pretty good. I think there's some good mechanics. I think it I like it being near like the last 3 for us to start getting people to be like, you gotta lock in
Yeah.
and like do well and pay attention and listen.
Okay. Technique.
Shit, man, my mouth's full.
Okay. Scrap.
I love this one. I think it might be my favorite one.
Okay. So S-ish tier.
It
We're in
has
the middle here.
great phases. I think the mechanic of having to like line your, put your portals in places and like line things up is like, it's tricky, but it feels really satisfying when you get it right. And I think the intermission, I wish it was a little bit more consequential because I feel like I'm getting hit
Yeah.
by shit left and right, and like it's not a big deal. You just pop defensives and you have plenty of defensives to get through it. But it's still a nice enough intermission. I like the portals. I love that she executes people. Girl boss moment, honestly. Like, so S tier for sure.
All right. Technique.
For that last comment, I was going to give it an S tier anyway, but I really do agree
Yeah.
with the assassinate thing. Like, if you
It's
get less than
cool.
50% health, I'm fucking you over.
I love that
But
she
I
also
think-
screams that she's doing it, because then I'm like looking, I'm like, who was it?
I love the, like, they've done a really good job, I think, with the entire raid of like just increasing individual responsibility for each fight. Like, in Ulgrax, the only people that actually have a job is really the tanks and the healers. Everyone else is just kind of DPSing and grabbing food. But as you get throughout the rest of the raid, you have to start. Everyone's got a responsibility that's more important, and that's just magnified, like on the Queen fight. But anyway, yeah, I think like with Kaiveza, there's so many things that are on the individual player in the raid more than just their normal role. So I like it a lot. You got some new abilities that you don't deal with in any other fight, and you have that assassinate thing, which is cool. So, I like it.
I am.
Which means S. Sorry,
Yeah.
S.
I'm gonna stick with Shawnee on the A tier here. I like, it is such a good fight, and the person who like designed it should get all the credit in the world for designing a phenomenal, arguably gold standard fight. The only thing that's
Yeah.
holding it back for me is 2 things. The first is, as Scrap pointed out, the tuning. I felt like it was hard the first week we did it, but the second we like understood most of the mechanics, everything else that would be consequential for a somewhat last end boss doesn't feel like it's as consequential as it should be. I wish it was as hard hitting as I would expect it to be, to punish people for making mistakes.
There's no like really
And the
solid
healers are
shield
like,
checks.
Shut up, Frank.
No,
The-
I don't think it, like, the thing is it'd make more sense in the intermission phase where we had to spread out because of those overlapping, the Farok blaze things that they have in this fight. Because like I feel like 80% of the raid is like all on this one corner because we all just kind of like run together. And so we're all hitting with it, but it's not hitting hard enough that like no one's paying attention to it. Whereas it'd be great if I had to say like, no, these 3 people go in that corner and those 3 people go in that corner. Like everyone has to have like their space cut out for them, but they still had to do pizza slices and they still had to do it.
Dude.
Now, I hear on Mythic, it is insane. So like maybe that's the fight I want, but on Heroic, it was so well designed and it's a fun ass fight, but it is kind of not consequential.
It's a hard like line to draw because I feel like
Yeah.
the beams can become toxic so fast because people are moving out of pizza slices, that like, and then you're moving your beam and it's tricky to kind of like am I hitting people, like, and I'm trying to move out of someone else's beam and stuff. So like I think you should be able to get hit by one beam, but I straight up am getting hit by every beam. I'm just using defensives and just trying to stay out of pizza slices. Dude, I don't give a fuck. Like it doesn't hurt, man. It doesn't hurt enough.
The other thing is, and I feel like these ethereals, whatever, are kind of like making because they all have like this portal type mechanic.
Yep.
I think the gold standard was the one out of Sepulchre. I can't even say it. Sepulchre.
No, it wasn't Sepulchre. It was before that.
No,
Was
the
it
one with the
Nathrius
pirate
raid?
ships that were flying around you were in the Sepulchre of the first one, where you had to like create 2 portals and wait for the line to come. Kind of like how Queen Ansarect has.
Bro, that was in. Oh wait, no, that guy came back, didn't he? Because he was in Nathria first.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. In Nathria, it was a sick fight.
Like that fight right there. Well, no, I think the first ones was the better of the 2 fights. But anyways, like those were the gold standard, and it's just not hitting that perfect of a hit. But anyways,
I agree. The portals aren't. Once you figure out, like, even if you fuck up the portals, they can't really kill you as long as you're in between. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you just get sucked in for the exact place you need to be, and you're fine. You're good. So it could be more consequential, but I still S tier.
I'm gonna start the Silken Court one. I am the one responsible for the web slingshot that we used to stop the boss. And before that nerf that came out where you had to have 2 and it went down to 1, I would have said this is probably A to S tier. After that nerf, I'm going to drop this down to B tier. I feel like they're actually, and there's also another problem I have with it, but I feel like not having the 2 from normal to heroic just makes this, if you have gear, it's the same fight. I'm sure there might be more to that than like I'm giving it credit for, but that's just how it feels. And the dispel mechanic, the fact that like it doesn't smart dispel. Now, granted, I understand why they did that because like the boss isn't movable, so you can't really perfectly time it. And I think Mythic again is an example where they don't have that part of the mechanic in there. But the fact that like I'm asking people to leave middle and they're not leaving, and we're still able to successfully pull that off, just doesn't feel, again, as it feels like a complete, well, just go do this and we'll be done with it quickly. For the second to last boss, that to me is a problem. So that's my thoughts.
There's other
it's still
hard
a fun
parts
fight,
in this boss, I feel like.
What's hard now?
The circle part.
No, it's not. You're just bad, but
it's so hard.
But the only other hard part was the end, where I can't, like, me and Zesty are the ones who do it in our group. I can't be the one to always guarantee to be the web. I get like the argument I made when they made the first nerf to it, where they made it from 2 to 1, is leave the first set of them as 2 and the last one just leave it as 1. I can get that chaos being like you're not going to have a good time doing it, but it's also a heroic boss. Like, this is AOTC, and I don't feel like I'm going ahead of the curve when I'm doing the same mechanics as a normal raid. So those are my thoughts. Technique, you said you had something you want to add to it?
Well, I really love the design of the fight where you're kind of introduced to the abilities step by step. And for a court fight, like how you get, each boss's fight mechanics introduced for phase 1, and then they kind of double up on phase 2, and then you got all kinds of crazy shit happening during phase 3. I like that. I do agree, though. the nerfs in week 3 to this boss were early. I think, maybe present those like 2 weeks later or something.
Yeah.
The 2 webs was a fun change, and I felt like it just added some responsibility to the raid.
Yeah.
It really wouldn't have been that hard to coordinate, but they didn't make us do it. And so I agree with that for sure. But otherwise, the design start to finish, I really like the fight, and I would rake it like much higher. I probably, it's one of my more favorite fights between an A and an S. I feel like for me, there's so many, like the fact that they throw in like, okay, well, you did the mechanic, now the boss is vulnerable. I like that.
Yeah, but I feel like the window's a little too small. Now, granted, it works out fine, but like I don't have enough time to even use this like my main cooldown, even when I predict it correctly.
Anything I can do as a tank to like optimize damage by the raid, like stacking the dudes more quickly, I like those mechanics. So just the fact that there's 2 that share health and some of them are vulnerable during certain periods of time, I like those. So that's I like this fight. And for that reason, I'm in.
Okay, scrap.
It's S, but behind Kaiveza for me. Or I could say it A plus. I can understand your disappointment with them making it
Shawnee
a
will
little
be
easy.
the deal breaker.
Yeah, but I do think it has like, I like the story element of it. Like Technique was saying, is that like, oh, like, you start with this guy and you weaken him, and then at the end, I love how everything is happening all at once. Like I love that chaotic finish for a boss, especially for a penultimate boss.
And they
That's my
kind of
favorite
nailed the
thing.
timing, right?
They nailed
Like-
it. Yeah, it feels like there's a whole like story arc happening during the boss fight, and there's a lot of stuff. It's cool, man. You forgot about the pizza slices that you keep getting hit by, Frank. I get hit by them too.
That last phase,
the ads.
You get hit
there's
by it in one pull, and you keep getting hit by it.
I know. There's consequential ads. There's a lot of movement around the room. The circle mechanic, it blows my mind. I have so much trouble with it. They
did do that mechanic well, because it doesn't ever feel, because
so
it's like
hard.
the perfect amount of brown where you don't see it until the other one goes away, and you're like, oh god, I'm in one. It
feels like it's happening for an hour. I'm like, please end, please end. I haven't gotten hit yet. Like it, and I love it. And then right after that part, it gets so chaotic and fun. I mean, I feel like this is what I like about a lot of end raid bosses, is that it has like these very clear, like phase 1 warm up, phase 2, this part's hard, phase 3, kill like as fast as possible. And yeah, it's definitely S for me.
Shawnee?
It's like an A1 for me. I like Kaivesa more. But yeah, it's good.
Right, we'll call it A plus.
Yeah, A plus is I find fair.
I don't have a problem. Like, I mean, ultimately it's a great fight, but I just like, I want to penalize Blizzard for getting a little too heavy-handed with the nerfs, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Queen Ansek. Now, we haven't killed her, and we technically haven't really seen phase 3, but phase 3 doesn't seem to be terribly different from what we saw in normal, at least. It just obviously will be, heavier hitting and more health. But phase 1 and enough I think is the fight. It's like if you can get through phase 1 and into phase 2 correctly, you're good. So Shawnee, kick us off. How well, you haven't seen it this week as we progressed better,
but I mean, I did last week, and it sounded like you guys didn't get a ton farther.
So, what do you think? We were more consistent this week. We didn't get farther.
Yeah, we did get farther. We had a PB this week.
Yeah. It's like a B for me.
Okay.
It's all right. I like punishment to ramp up as it goes on, but I feel like it's super punishing out the door and actually gets easier later. So I like it the reverse way. Otherwise, if they made it more punishing than it went on, I would give it an A. But
I am a little worried that the phase 3 will be chaotic.
It probably will be. I still find phase 1 a bit much. So it's a B for me.
Technique?
Especially after the nerfs to Silken Court, I feel like, the gap between difficulty from Silken Court to Queen is pretty big. You jump from, especially from normal to heroic. I mean, that gap is big. And I love the fight. I like the challenge. I like all the different things going on. I like the boobies and the nipples, and I think it makes. By the way, that's the geysers.
I was gonna
for
say it
the
sounds like
rest of
talking
you.
about her boobies and nipples,
The
and
toxin,
she's a
the
spider.
reactive toxin that turns
Yeah,
into
the
the
reactive
frothy
toxin, the geysers. It just makes way more sense to my brain. But anyway, yeah, I actually like the fight a lot, and especially for tanks, like previously in the fight or in the raid, the tank mechanics again are just like swap and use a defensive if you feel like it, but you don't really have to. You have to use all your defensives on the queen fight as a tank. I mean, if you're soaking the liquefy, defensive. If you're taunting and getting feasted, defensive and heal. So there's a lot of responsibility on the tanks in that first phase, especially. I like it. I like a lot of three phase.
What's your ranking?
Yeah. Give it a. I like the challenge, dude. Give it an S.
S. Okay, so we're into the A tiers now. Scrap.
I don't want to give it an S because I can't help but compare it to other final raid bosses I really like, and also a huge enjoyment of my fight and how I feel about it at the end is phase 3, and we haven't seen it yet. Like, it's how I feel when we clear it is totally how I feel about the boss. Like, so for example, like probably my favorite boss since raiding with you, like through Shadowlands and Dragonflight, I love Razageth because like that last phase is so fun, so chaotic, not particularly hard, but like you have to fucking kill it, and it was just like really exciting all at once. Like you've been through hell through all these phases, and then it's like, okay, just have fun, just kill her. So that definitely left like a lasting impression on me. So I'm hoping, but from what I've seen, I like the phases. I think they're varied. The first phase, it's a little bit personal responsibility, jailer vibes, not as bad as jailer, but it's good.
Yeah, I remember that fight. That was good.
It's I can't, like, I'm having flashbacks when
that.
people can't place the circles in the right places. I'm like, oh my god, this is jailer all over again.
I
like
loved
people
Jailer
falling in
phase
holes.
1, and I think this is another example though
I
where
love
Jailer phase 1 is
Shadowlands.
great, and then the last phase of Jailer wasn't that great.
I literally don't
Shadowlands
even
was affected
remember.
by fake news big time, dude.
What are we talking
That
about,
was
dude?
that was a good expansion.
Oh, I love Shadowlands, but like literally, I don't remember any other phase of the jailer but
All
the first
viewers have stopped
phase.
watching.
Yeah, no. But dude, Denathrius is one of,
fuck with me,
I
who
remember
cares?
every phase of Denathrius, and jailer none of them.
Yeah,
like I just
yeah.
remember the first one. So
Yeah.
that tells you. I don't know. It's hard to say. Does this one have staying power? I like it. I think it's a good final boss, but until we see the ends and how it feels, I can't put an S. I give it A minus even.
A minus. Okay, well that's going
Because I'm
to
not sure.
then sway the final score then, because I was going to give it a B, and so I'm going to move it into the B plus
Oh, okay.
range. Here's my problem. So the frothy reactive toxin mechanic, the jump, great addition to the tool belt of what the devs have to make an engaging fight. It'll be, I'm almost certain, when they make a new dungeon, whether it be the mega dungeon or a dungeon in the next expansion, it will be used again in a mechanic on a dungeon boss, right? Like that's what they do. They have like this really cool mechanic, and they'll use it again in a later dungeon. But they also have the Farak root mechanic. Like they took that mechanic and literally copy and pasted. And I don't really know why it's there, other than to just, I guess, break up the single target part of the damage. Because more often than not, we're out of it without any issue. And that's even with people not focusing on it correctly.
Wait, did Farak have roots? Not Farak.
Not Farak, Tindril Sage.
Tindril or whatever.
Tindril. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, I was like,
Tindril,
dude, did I delete a whole mechanic from the raid tier we just did? Yeah,
No.
Tindril, you're right. Yeah.
But like, it's not a bad mechanic. It doesn't feel part of the overarching, like I'm doing this frothy toxin thing, and that feels so much fun, and then why are we doing this exact same thing we did before? But I love the idea that we're like climbing the towers to get back to her at the top. And phase 3 I think will be a lot of fun, because it'll be like placing portals like you did on the boss we just talked about out of Sepulchre. But ultimately, to your point, Scrap, I agree with you. Like, I think we're gonna remember phase 1 and not much else. And Jailer's phase 1 might be one of the best phase 1s ever, but the phase 3 and phase whatever, the intermission, not that great. And so I want to hold this to the standard of like, it's not a Razgeth, it's not a Farak, It's not as bad as Scale Commander, whatever his name was, Sarkarath.
Sarkarath, yeah, he was dull. I don't remember any fucking thing from that
Well,
fight.
and it was just like it wasn't cohesive. My problem was it wasn't cohesive, but
the end was I did not like the third phase of that fight. It was so stupid.
But yeah, like I just don't feel it's a fun fight what we're doing right now, and I'm not at the point where we're progressing and I feel like this isn't fun anymore. I still enjoy all the dancing. That intermission phase where she's pulling us in might be a little too chaotic because like we're being slowed down and we're being pulled and we're going to get hit by the slime waves to the point where I can't even alter time it because the slime wave is so slow moving that when I come back, it's like right in my face again. I'm like, oh shit. So like it doesn't, I don't know. I mean, that could be obviously better skill placement of my choosing, but I just like abandoned it altogether. I said, I'm just not going to do it.
I would say so far my favorite part is the intermission because it feels very scary. And you're like, because as a melee DPS,
that's
like,
true.
We need to break the shield. And then it's like, okay, but I need to have time to get out also.
You've convinced
so it's
me.
scary.
Well, A-.
Yeah, no, like, so like the first phase is
scary.
cool, but you're kind of dancing around the room, but that intermission, it's quick too. It doesn't stick around too long. But like trying to get in enough damage to like we gotta get it done. But then it's like, okay, I have to leave. I gotta go.
So
like,
this is actually a question for you and Shawnee. And Shawnee, you haven't seen as much as Scrap has, but I can't imagine having to do that intermission on it as a melee. It doesn't seem fun.
The slimes are really, really small when you're up there.
Well, yeah, but like
huge,
having to run at a 40% movement speed reduction far enough away means you have to stop DPS. And again, there's a skill thing there where you the exact point where I'm not going to make it if I don't leave at 6 seconds or whatever. But
DBM tells you when she starts to cast the pull. I mean, you can see the cast bar, but I drop everything and I start leaving then, and I haven't had any trouble getting out of it. And I have like disengage and like most melee DPS have movement cooldowns, so obviously I'm just saving that for that. And I'm always going way further than I need to because I'm scared. Like I'm always
Also,
like 1 foot over the edge of the thing.
We haven't really coordinated our skill, like things like
we don't have any roar.
Totem, the druid roar. We've got like warlock portals and stuff that we just really haven't utilized those to make it easier. But like you said, a lot of those classes do have the toolkit to like deal with this.
Yeah, I just my thing is like it's not about like I know it can be done. It's just like, is that fun to have to stop DPSing and run out?
For me, yeah.
I think it's fun to have to use the shit that you don't use every day, all day long. Like to have to use Wind Rush and Roar and portals and like sheep.
Well,
and,
like you said,
what about you, Shawnee?
Oh, okay.
I don't like it when I can't DPS. So I find those certain fights a bit annoying only because I gotta hear range being like, look, DPS. And then trying to like dump on us for it.
Well, that's just a problem that range people are assholes.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much like mages and warlocks.
Let me pull up the Wipefest and show you my score again. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, I don't enjoy that as a mechanic so much that. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that, but I don't hate it. I'm just going to do the mechanic and my DPS is low, it's low.
All right.
Can I make a quick callback, Frank? Because you said at the very beginning of this podcast, many hours ago, that you're looking as a raid leader for people who do the mechanics and aren't just padding the meter.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm happy to be doing the mechanics. I don't take any damage from the greens. I leave. I come back. I got plenty of time. I'm feeling good. I'm not even looking at the meter.
You sound like my 4-year-old daughter who will say, "Daddy, I did this like you asked me to." And I should just pour you with praise.
Did you see how I did what
you washed your hands? What? I can't believe it.
You said the standard you hold your raiders to is that they're doing everything right, not necessarily padding the meter, and that's what that phase is about.
And I like my point, and Shawnee brought it up, is like it's not because they're obviously melee favored and range favored fights. I get that, but like as a mage, I can keep DPSing to the very end because either I can alter time it out or I can just blink at the very last second far enough away that it's not going to be an issue, right? And for me, it'd just be sitting there going, I'd be envious of as a melee going like, God, I just have to leave and they get to keep going, and I'm not sure if I'm going to make it because it's the third time, and X, Y, and Z, whatever. Anyway, sorry.
Frank, I
think-
guess I'm just built different because I care more about the success of the raid than my personal success.
Who the fuck are you?
I know.
You washed your hands. Oh my. Okay. Any last words?
No,
Yeah.
I think our tier is pretty fair.
What's that last tab on your window?
Wait, Frank,
Oh, it's
let's
just wow. I
rate
had to check for news.
let's rate the whole raid. Where are we putting the whole
Oh
raid?
yeah, okay, quickly, because we're running out of time. And by running out of time, we're way
Oh
over.
my god, I'm so fucked. I have to go to my mom's house after this.
Yeah, come on. Time. What's this overall? A, Shawnee?
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, I B plus.
Okay, technique.
Man, I'll give it an A+ for all right plus.
Okay. I'm a
All
B.
right.
I'm B minus. I feel like I'm gonna forget about it later on.
I feel like it
But-
was too
Feels-
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It
I
feels
also am the person that
forgettable.
didn't really vibe with Castle Nathria as much as everyone else did. So
What? Nathria is good. I think it's the same as whatever that one Sarkarath was in. I don't remember shit from that raid. I feel like that's unfortunately gonna
no,
be this
I think
one.
all the bot like Neltharion was great. Okay, we're not getting into that.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
let's
Neltharion.
let's go into our question of the week real quick.
First week, yeah.
This was from Pleb. Cubby hole in Grim Batol. Now, before I explain the rest of the question, what is the cubby hole in Grim Batol? Quickly.
You want me to explain?
Technique.
Yeah,
Yeah,
quickly.
technique's a tank. Let him
Okay, so
explain.
it's a tank mechanic that allows the tank
Mechanic.
to pull the dragon. It's a cheat. It's
boss,
well,
you mean,
that's my okay. So you're on the dragon fight, the second boss or first boss? What is it?
Third
Second
boss.
The third
Jesus
boss
Third
in Grim
Christ.
boss.
Batol.
One of the bosses in Grim Batol.
Spunky.
It's the dragon boss in Grim Batol, and the tank just backs into the corner on one of the walls and tucks his ass way back in the corner. And basically, all the mechanics, the tornadoes, the ads, everything spawns on the boss, and the DPS don't have to worry about anything, and the healers just have to worry about the tank. And that's
What about
it.
the ads? I haven't seen this, so I don't.
The ads I just said they spawn literally. They just stack right on the
Okay,
boss.
so they always spawn in
you
the same
stun
spot.
them and you nuke them down, and they cleave the boss, and it's so irrelevant. All
Anyone
the
want to do a
mechanics
Grim
are so
Batol after
relevant.
this?
I gotta go.
I mean, I'll be
No,
All
I
right.
wouldn't
So the
bet.
question is
I
that an
would.
exploit or is that a game mechanic? So, Technique, you started with your answer. I'll go and let you go.
I mean, after having done it 2 times, I feel like it feels exploitative. It feels like an exploit. But if it's in the game, it's a game mechanic as far as I'm concerned. So do it until they fix it.
Okay.
That's my point.
I think we should define exploitive means that like Blizzard might punish you for doing it.
Well, in that case, no, it's not exploitive.
Nah.
Okay.
I don't want to
Alright.
be punished for playing the game that they've released.
Shawnee?
I don't think it's an exploit that is detrimental. So I don't think Blizzard would look at it as an exploit. Just like how there was Dungeons last expansion that you could like a demon hunter could like go jump a certain way and it would move all the ads some way, or
Well,
Like-
snapping technology as well, yeah.
yeah, or like there was a way to like start fights early if you had a augment to like
Well-
fly somewhere.
But they fixed
Yeah.
those, didn't they?
No, they left them in. They used people saw them because they were in MDI.
Technique, did your phone
Like-
die?
Did it?
Oh, is that-
Well,
yeah.
Maybe.
But yeah, I
Um,
don't think it's an exploit per se, in the sense of like I
Yeah.
don't think it's like it's maybe not intentional, but I don't think it's so bad of like things that are wrecking it for other people.
Scrap.
That's exactly what happened. Sorry.
I've not personally seen it, but I've had multiple people explain it to me, and every time somebody explains it to me, they use the word trivialize.
Mm.
And I think anything that trivializes the mechanics of the fight is an exploit. Do I think people should be punished for it? No, but I didn't think the people should be punished for any of the exploits. Like, you use it while you can. If they nerf it, I think they'd be well within their rights to nerf it.
Yeah, they should nerf it. I feel like.
This is like my response to when I first heard this, I think, was something along the lines of just play the game, right? Like, why do it if you don't want to play the mechanics? Now, granted,
Well, hold on. In a key, I want every bullshit I can get, like every trick, every whatever, because
I
the
understand that.
timer is against you, you know?
I'm not happy about it though. I don't want like
Yeah.
like this is
Okay,
something
so
Leo
should
and I
you
talk
pull
about.
mobs through the walls and miss a Tyrannosaurus? Should you?
I don't bother. No,
like, okay,
Well, 'cause
well,
you made
you're
me
not going
do
to
it.
key the big
no,
keys
I
then,
don't. I've
because-
never asked you to do it, Scrap.
You love
Yeah.
when I do it because then you
No,
get
I
ahead of
don't.
me on the meter.
No, I don't. Actually, I hate it because I've already started using my cooldowns on the 2 that are there, and it takes 40 years for them to come over. My cooldowns are
There's-
up, and I don't like that.
There's
But
things
but-
like
but-
that.
but-
It doesn't trivialize anything. But if this,
Well,
I
that
think they
kinda
should
does, but-
patch this. No, it
Yes, they
doesn't.
should.
You
They
get
should
an extra percent.
they should definitely patch this technique. Your camera's still not up.
It's fine. Leave
I
it
had to
down.
reboot my goddamn phone. You relax.
But the thing is, and Leo and I would talk about this a lot, like where people will find any which way to cut corners, and to me, it's just like, why aren't you wanting to play the game, right? Like, it's one thing if this was a horrifically designed boss that is just like no business being in the game, and even then, I'd still say I don't want to do it. But like for me, I love that fight. It's such a fun fight. The way that the tanks have to like coordinate moving from one quadrant to the next and everyone paying attention to that makes it enjoyable, and I don't want to see it. Now, to y'all's point, Blizzard should fix this immediately. There should be no waiting.
Yeah.
Like I never understood how there have been things that were exploited for weeks on end on how to like kill a boss or whatever, and it wouldn't be fixed until like the very end of the season or whatever may have happened. I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head, but I can't immediately. But they have been doing a really good job of fixing these things quickly. For me, my answer is just not going to be even exploitive or game mechanics. Like, play the game, enjoy the game. It may be hard, but that's the point. It's it's the Elden Ring thing. Like, overcoming the obstacles, great. And
But
once you,
I feel like
that's-
it's different when you're queued with a bunch of donkeys and you're staring down this boss and you're like, ooh, I really wish this
forget
mage didn't
moles.
have to
The
do any
new
mechanics.
mole is donkey.
I'm obsessed with the donkey vernacular, but I'm just saying, like, you've been rolling with the mage all dungeon and they've just been dying to the dumbest shit. And I'm looking at this boss and I'm like, I really wish he didn't have to do any mechanics because I want to time this key, you know?
I like that you said she.
I'm glad you used it that way.
No,
Yeah,
but for me,
never-
I'm too stubborn. I'm too stubborn to allow that to happen. I'm like, no, you're going to mess it up and I'm going to get angry at you and I'm going to tell you why you're a donkey and then I'll move on with my life when I feel
but Frank,
satisfied
you
in
never
that.
have to queue with these fucking mages because you are a mage. Like, I'm telling you, they're toxic.
I
was
had a
reporting some
toxic
people.
hunter in my 4 that I was trying to time today on my paladin. And
Hunter should stay in 4s, and I'm saying that as a hunter.
All right, well, that's the question of the week. Let's wrap this up. Everyone, if you haven't gone, mythicdungeonleague.com. Our Discord link is there. I seem to get a lot of questions on that. If you want to join our community, I will be honest, like, we're pushing hard, so we're getting high keys, and not everyone's getting the 4s and 5s and 6s. We'd love to have more healers. We'd love to have more tanks, and heck, even more DPS. As Scrap goes on vacation and Shawnee comes back from vacation, we'll be happy to help out with those that still need their keys, but I just want to remind you all that's there, and you can see all our previous episodes of the podcast, previous episodes of our game shows, and you can see our meta list and yada yada yada. But mythicdungeonleague.com. Any last thoughts quickly? Tech?
No, not a single thought.
Cool. Scrap?
No, I gotta go.
Okay, Shawnee? Shawnee, take all the time you want in the world. Scrap always does it to you.
Yeah, no, it's all right. You're all great people and super fun to do the podcast with you guys.
Shawnee, I feel like you're lying through your teeth as you say that
No.
after you almost wanted to kill us in the
The way
raid
he-
section. Of
that's
the,
why he
Listen.
says I love doing raid with you guys every week too.
No, listen, I want to kill you guys a lot of times, but you are who you are, and if you were different, you wouldn't be you. And the things that make me want to kill you, I would miss if it was different people.
And you act like you've got kids or something. You're the best guy ever.
Well, thanks.
I just
But,
got a
you know,
text
don't
message from a Jason saying, "Hey, you remember that casino I told you about? You're uninvited. What's that about?"
Not true.
Different Jason.
No, honestly, just don't make me have to get out my dad voice and raid ever again, and we'll be super. Because that was
You come
horrific
booming
week
in when
for
you
me.
talk. You just go, "Guys, stop fucking up." You don't talk all raid, and then you just get angry. All right,
Well, it's brewing.
that is our episode for today.
That's
Next
when I'm
week,
like, I'm in trouble.
next week we'll come back and talk about more Mythic Plus, and it'll be a big heavy focus on pugging and this TDV. Shawnee and Scrap, I'm challenging you guys to come up with a formula of sorts that we can start plugging in data points.
I have it all up here. I have it all up here.
Well, we need to
I've
make
been
the
talking-
algorithm because We have an opportunity here to make a website like Wipefest, but for Mythic Plus, where we can start like social scoring people, and it's gonna be
That sounds
amazing.
Like wait,
the most toxic place, the most toxic thing in the world.
Dude, literally, while I'm spending 30 to 40 minutes just trying to get into a single key, I'm doing nothing but soapboxing in Discord about how to get the right pug. You know, like all these theories that I have. So I have already laid it out.
I want you two to lead the conversation next week, okay?
No problem.
Scrap, you lead, and I will agree with whatever you say.
Until you don't, and then you say, I can't believe you fucking guys. You don't want to give Sikrin a plus?
I mean, of course you're going to agree with everything I say, because everything I say about pugging is right.
All right. I mean, not everything.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. I'm excited about next week's episode. I'm hoping you enjoyed this week's episode. Until then, we love you, and we'll see you then. Take care. Always the poop.